Chapter 555, Result of Training. Chapter 555, Result of Training. With the fox being in the fourth layer, their gap had only widened. It was now worlds apart. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang were quite worried. Xiaowu frowned, not knowing how to gauge her after being under Zhuo Fan's tutelage. Reason dictated that with profound heaven vs radiant stage and 5 layers of difference on top, losing was a foregone conclusion. Ha ha ha. Yua, you must have a death wish, so don't come crying to me at the end. Hu Maya mocked. Yu Ling balled her fists, her eyes filled with anger, yet the tough attitude of the fox had no effect on Yua, replying with a smirk and holding a cold blade. 8th grade demonic treasure. Everyone jerked, even the oldies gasped. Such a high-grade demonic treasure wasn't found even in their hands, yet a no-name girl from the outer sect had one. And observing the blade's style, both soft and a perfect harmony between yin and yang, it was clearly the work of a grandmaster. This was no ordinary 8th grade weapon. Even the sect leader's eyebrows rose with an unhealthy interest, so that's the basis of her confidence. This weapon would make it easier to bridge the cultivation gap, although, the kid sure is wealthy to hand over such a fortune to this girl. I sure as hell couldn't. Xie Wu gasped, smiling inside. No way in hell did this girl get her hands on such a demonic treasure without Zhuo Fan giving it to her. For crying out loud, where did the kid get all this dough from? I had to buy him with a 9th grade pill, yet now he shows up with an 8th grade demonic treasure. He's no beggar, but a moneybags. A trip is in order to check and see how deep are his pockets. Hey. Xiaowu calculated. Hu Maya's brow twitched looking at the blade. Humph, you got a bigger toy and it got to your head. But it all depends on the wielder to unleash its power. I was the one who taught you demon-devouring saber, and I've guided your training all your life. I know everything you can do like the back of my hand. You think an 8th grade demonic treasure can change that? Ha ha ha, that's rich. Oh, really? Yua's grin turned sinister, her icy aura focusing on the blade. The temperature plunged on the ring so fast, some disciples started shivering from the cold. It felt like entering a glacier cave, about to freeze to death. Hu Maya frowned in shock. What power is this? A slash was Yua's answer with a bang. The ring was bisected, with the scar releasing endless grey and icy energy as the pavement was corroded. Such pure fiendish yin. Xiaowu praised. How did Zhuo Fan even train her to enhance her yin to such a degree? Even without the demonic treasure, their gap will be cut down in size. Contrary to popular belief, cultivation wasn't everything. One had to consider the meridians, how wide and tough they were to allow the purest yuan qi to pass through, and the girl's yuan qi was so pure that not even some elders could contest. It caught the elders and venerables by surprise while Yu Ling was stunned. Just what did Zhuo Fan do to her in those months? She's like a completely different person. All they knew was that Zhuo Fan was a freak, no question about it. Turning Yua into a freak as well proved it. Junior sister, be careful. Liu Shu eyed the eerie blade and tensed at the vibes it gave off. Hu Maya nodded, her features hardening. She couldn't afford to look down on the girl. She's no meek girl, but a tiger threatening my life. But I won't let her. Hu Maya burst with bloodthirst as a ripple shot for Yua. It's a soul attack. Yua. Yu Ling panicked. Yua's profound heaven cultivation's weakness was soul. And an attack like that would leave her disoriented, if not in a critical state. Yua's response was a cold smile. Hu Maya, did you really think I'd challenge a radiant stage expert without some countermeasures to my weakness? The ripple slammed into something just before reaching her, turning into an azure glow now coming back for Hu Maya. Boom. Hu Maya was caught off guard, feeling like her head was about to explode, as if her mind was cooked from the inside. She wailed for a whole 15 minutes, but from her ashen complexion, clearly her soul was in a sorry state. Everyone was speechless. Didn't she just use a soul attack on Yua? How is it that she's the one on the receiving end? What just happened? They kept looking from one to another. Yua smiled, showing an azure bead. That's 9th grade spiritual weapon, anchoring soul bead. Xiaowu cried. The oldies echoed his reaction. It was common knowledge that the mystical heaven sect had the anchoring soul bead, the only one in existence, so what's it doing in the hands of this girl? All of the old guys were flabbergasted. Yua smiled. The refining of this item has the anchoring soul bead as its core, but they can't be compared. Anchoring soul bead can only defend one's soul, while this bead contains powerful soul flames. At an enemy's soul attack, it will lash out, returning an attack stronger than before. Oh, it's just an anchoring soul bead ripoff. The oldies bobbed their heads like little wise men as their greed for her bauble bubbled inside. That's some good stuff right there. What is it doing in the hands of an ignorant outer disciple? What a waste. If it were mine. All eyes glittered. Damn you, that strength isn't yours. Fight me for real if you dare. Humaya gnashed her teeth. You are deflected. They're a part of my strength though. Grumblers will always pick faults. In a demonic sect, the end justifies the means. Winning is everything and there's nothing that can change it. Besides, you're a fourth layer of radiant stage here and want me to throw away my demonic treasures? You've got some nerve. Why you? Humaya's eyes were bloodshot. Curse you, skank, since when did you get so talkative? Her voice drowned as Yua recalled some words. When fighting someone, use any dirty trick in the book. Unnerving them with words is just another way of winning. You need to change that cold attitude of yours. It was Zhua Fan's pearl of wisdom, and from Humaya's reactions, it only validated his argument. Yua smiled, mocking, "Oh, senior sister Maya, you were both kind and mean to me. With your soul in pain, it'll be hard to avoid this slash. It will cleanse our grudge." Yua raised her blade as the yin focused on it. Humaya's eyes shone. Chapter 556, Deceit. Chapter 556, Deceit. Who tilde? The biting winds flooded the air. Yua's blade stabbed at the sky, gathering all the yin around into a single blow. A gloom set in and the sky darkened as the temperature dropped. The space itself trembled with the coldness. The elders and venerables shuddered inside. This girl's yuan qi purity is insane. Just a peak profound heaven cultivator, yet with the power of a fourth layer of radiant stage. Not even Humaya could beat that. Wounded as she was, a shame such a great move had a glaring weakness. The oldies sighed. The outcome was clear. Xie Wua squinted, feeling something was off. A shame for all those items to be wasted on a greenhorn. Humaya's eyes flashed, waiting for her to finish working up to her peak. Only acting just as the blade was about to drop. Ha ha ha. Let senior sister teach you one simple truth. Accuracy is more important than strength. It doesn't matter how tough you are if you can't hit anything. Humaya mocked, turning into dozens of images, coming upon Yua from everywhere. Low profound ranked movement art, fox phantom trail. Yua's brow shook, looking around for her target yet not finding her. Yuling was worried. Yua, stop and defend. Hi, it's a bit late for that. Humaya giggled, full of herself. She appeared in Yua's face and struck with a red claw at her waist. Yua simply stared at her. Too late to defend. Yuling's heart was in her throat, while the oldies sighed at the outcome. The girl has everything, advantage and gear, but if there's one thing she lacks is experience. Humaya's sharp claw came along with her stuck-up smile. Girlie, one last lesson. In a life and death battle, everyone pays attention to offense and defense. With you focusing all your yuan qi on attacking me, it left you wide open for my attack. Time for you to get your just desserts. You will die for challenging me. Humaya's claw inched closer to Yua under the size of the audience. Yua calmed down and sported a vague smile. Crack. Humaya's deviant claw struck something hard and very much solid. Humaya cried out, but had no time to panic as Yua shone golden and blinded the audience. Raw. A golden dragon gushed out and flicked its tail, capturing Humaya's claw. When the glow ebbed, the audience stared in shock, their eyes popping. What is that? One disciple pointed at Yua. Only some oldies gulped at the resplendent golden glow. Well shit, it's an 8th grade defensive demonic treasure. It sure was. Yua came packing a golden armor with a golden dragon wiggling all over it, stopping Humaya's fine dainty hand from marring this work of art. Xie Wua's face twitched. She focused on attacking on purpose, because she had the bead for soul defense and armor for her body as well. For God's sake, she's just an outer disciple. This is too much. Zhua Fan, with his endless list of items, I'm better off just hitting him and he'd drop something. Xie Wua had come to a decision. Venerable Shi's side were sporting long faces. Oh, come on, moneybags much? An 8th grade demonic treasure for attack we can take, but 2 more defensive ones, and even superior ones at that. That's just plain cheating. You can challenge elites with that setup. Venerable Shi and company sighed. What the hell? Humaya panicked, unable to extricate her dainty hand. Yua jeered. Sister Maya, you fell for it. Any strike on the 8th grade demonic treasure dragon locking armor will hold the attacker in place. Let's see you run now. Why you did it on purpose to draw me in. Maya's eyes shook watching Yua's sharp eyes. Yua grinned. Oh, sister, how can you forget the simple truth that if you give up in a challenge, you'd be safe? It would give your master an excuse to save you. The only way to kill you is with a definitive strike, but that's hardly possible at my level, which leaves trickery as the only option. Maya was incredulous. Since when did you develop a mean streak? Just now. Yua grinned and let her blade fall on the defenseless Maya, high profound ranked martial art, Black Wind Blade. No. With the eerie blade reflecting in her eyes, Maya cried out her denial, but the blade cut off not only her voice but her life as well. Boom. The ring shook as cracks spread all over it. As Maya lay splayed in two, all that was left was a deep fear etched in those charming eyes. Gui, who shuddered and sighed. Liu Shu watched the show, pale and overwhelmed. Maya died, but this blade's power was not something even he could take. He felt overcome with sadness at her death. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were floored by this unbelievable outcome, surprised by Yua's progress. The fox got done in one strike. Venerable Shi and the elders were brooding. They had planned on using the elites as a way to skim the sect, only to find one of their choices was laying dead, and a disciple's failure translated into the master's failure. Looking at Maya's wide-open stare, Xiaowua laughed. The challenge has come to an end, with a great inner disciple done in by a single strike of an outer disciple. She's not worthy of being an elite. It only proves that this inner disciple batch is subpar. Sect leader was not about to miss this chance to mock the others. Venerable Shi bowed. Sect leader, Maya's death came from her poor skills. It does not speak for the rest. The other disciples are still viable for being elites. Shameful. Do you want to go to the Double Dragon gathering with such disgraceful elites? Just take the top disciple and that's it. Xiaowua snorted. With the inner disciple's inadequacy more than visible, this inner competition's result is now void. We will be holding another one in 3 months. Sect leader. Enough. What I want are elites, not paper mascots. Xiaowua cut Venerable Shi off. His decision final. Venerable Shi had no choice but to nod. Today's results proved that the sect leader was on the move, using the disciples' competition as a way to strike at the old man's greed. Maya was simply a victim to him, of no importance at all. Now all this old man cared about was what would sect leader cook for the competition 3 months from now. So Venerable Shi shouted at Yua, outer disciple Yua, since you've defeated Maya, you are now in the inner sect. Who is to be your master? Speak. Which elder or venerable will take her? Chapter 557, Back to Labor Office. Chapter 557, Back to Labor Office. The elders and venerables gazed upon Yua with newfound interest. She ain't half bad, a good promising elite seed. Besides, it's only natural that the master gets to safekeep his disciples' gear, no? Ha ha ha. She is a fine disciple and I haven't seen someone like her in years. Since no one wants her, I'll be taking her. A grizzled old man eyed Yua. Or was it her items? Who knows? But then a creepy voice shouted, Elder Yang, don't go hogging everything. I find the girl quite pleasing, she'll be under me. Heh, Elder Gu, you must be dreaming. I got dibs on her and now you want to take her away from me. Elder Yang glared at the interloper. His greedy look warned him. Stand the hell down before you hurt yourself. But Elder Gu merely huffed. Then came another voice. You two are in your own little world, I see. To think she is yours. Heh, shameless old Wang. You got your share last year and didn't see me fighting over them, did you? Now that I've finally found a good seed, you want to take it? Elder Yang would simply not have it. No, Elder Gu chimed in. Yeah, you always get the most disciples and still come back for more. Go back to your cozy home and stay out of our business. Haha, now you both are coming for me? No chance. I get to have so many disciples because you two throw them away. No matter what, she must be mine. Elder Wang roared. The two bickered and as the oldies piled up, the fighting escalated. The competition was now in chaos, shouting and fighting everywhere. The disciples were speechless. The same elders and venerables who they saw having stone faces and fighting for respect were now clobbering each other, all for one tiny little disciple. They were stunned and also envious of Yua. She's just some outer disciple and just because of a measly win she's got everyone's attention and they are fighting over her. While Yu Ling was overflowing with joy for her sister, Xie Wuye sneered at their tantrums and watched Venerable Shi. This guy must be thinking the girl has been nurtured with great care all these years, a pawn to quell the inner disciples. And he must be planning to throw her into the inner sect and take her away from my control just so she loses her worth. Funny though, she's not mine but Xue Fan's. Take her for all I care, Xue Fan is bound to rear another one in the labor office. This sect leader had no worry whatsoever. Xie Wuye grinned inside, praising Xue Fan's whammy. Even he would have needed more time to get an outer disciple to this level, to say nothing about catching the eyes of everyone with every movement of his as a sect leader. Having Xue Fan as his proxy was so much better, while Xie Wuye's non-committal attitude threw Venerable Shi for a loop. Isn't she his pawn? Or does he have other plans? Venerable Shi probed. Silence. Venerables, elders, have you no shame exhibiting such disgrace before the entire sect? The oldies froze mid-swing, looking at Xie Wuye and Venerable Shi with shy gazes and red faces. They got too caught up in getting the girl that they let themselves go and devolved into bickering like old hags. But as the matter stood, who will get the doll and her dowry? Venerable Shi spoke with a cold smile. Sect leader, everyone shows interest in taking her as a disciple, but it is hard to decide. From how I see it, with Humaya dead, second elder has lost a dear disciple, and taking Yuya would mend his broken heart. You rotten no good vile shaman Shan. You want to hog all the goodies by yourself. Every elder and venerable screamed at him. In their minds at least Venerable Shi had the second elder in his bag, and by proxy he would get all the demonic treasures and an elite candidate. Humaya died, but he would get 3 demonic treasures. It's totally worth it. The hell with mending hearts. Look how perverted the second elder is. Do you see any hurt on his face? The whole sect knew just how close he was to his female disciples. Since one died, he'd just get another. Take the mending and stuff it where the sun doesn't shine. All elders and venerables were outraged, moving from Venerable Shi to second elder. The latter was even roaming his creepy eyes over Yuya's body, even nodding now and then. Yu Ling panicked. Any female disciple knew of the second elder's tastes. Yu Ling feared her sister would fall to his poison and would end up the same way as her predecessor. You're wrong, Venerable Shi. A middle-aged man in white smiled. In the inner sect competition, there are no grudges. Once you step on the ring, emotions have no place, with life and death settled on a whim. We are elders and venerables, accustomed to our disciples' fate, so how could we care for them? Second elder's perverted tastes have been going on for centuries now, yet it just so happened that today he has changed. Venerable Shi, letting him have this doll is an insult to the rest of us. Venerable Shi squinted. Second elder glared. The man glossed over and chuckled. While my disciple, Yu Ling, is her sister. By having them work together, their future will be limitless, achieving glory in the Double Dragon Gathering. Venerable Bai, are you fighting me over a disciple? Second elder's hawk eyes stared back. Venerable Bai waved his hand. Can you even fight? I only care about the sect's future and speak facts. The sisters will help each other and thereby, the sect. Why you? Second elder was fuming. Venerable Shi said, Venerable Bai, you're a venerable yet you would fight an elder? Hey, do you mean I can't? Venerable Shi, aren't you always doing it? This was a naked taunt. Everyone saw a thin elderly in a plain robe poking fun at Venerable Shi. Venerable Shi snorted. Venerable Qi, you too? Of course, it is my responsibility to look out for our disciples' future. Venerable Qi stuck out his chest and annoyed the hell out of Venerable Shi. Xie Wuye snickered inside. Venerable Qi and Venerable Bai are third and fourth in line of authority. The two together can hold Venerable Shi back. They all had no care for each other, until now. Since Venerable Shi and Grand Elder allied, they considered everyone beneath them, taking what they pleased and setting up their disciples into becoming elites while eliminating all obstacles, and in turn getting on these two venerables' bad side. Their disciples, Kuei Lang and Yu Ling, were demoted to laborious. But with Gui, who always picking fights with their other disciples and killing them, they knew the two were after their share. Left with no other choice, they used their two disciples' credit in the labor office to get them back. Venerable Shi had always pushed back Venerable Qi and Venerable Bai, but now at last, someone stood up to these greedy bastards. Xie Wuye grinned. Enough squabbling. I know everyone wants a talent to nurture, but did you ever stop to think to ask the person herself? Wasting a talent like her is damaging to the sect. Everyone nodded and turned to Yue, eager to be her master. Yue said, as an inner disciple, you have to have a master's guidance. Speak now, who will be your guide? Yue roamed her eyes over the oldies and their hypocritical smiles, lost on who to pick. Yu Ling was giving her obvious hints from the side. Pick Venerable Bai. If you don't want to die, go back to the labor office. An aged voice entered her ear. 3 months of training should have let you know that the strong never ask for anything. Yue shuddered and turned to the blade in her hand, and her eyes lit up. With a bow she said, Sect leader, please send me back to the labor office. Say what? Everyone was slack-jawed. Chapter 558, Versatile. Chapter 558, Versatile. What did she say? The disciples in the audience watched the girl with dumb looks. What did I just hear? She wants to go to the labor office on purpose. Ah, yes. I heard that too. Another said, stumped. All the same, it was a reaction quite popular today, even among elders and venerables. A place that was designated as the sect's dump, where disciples were thrown to spend the rest of their days crying, just got a volunteer. But how could a lady with glorious prospects conceive such an idea? Yue said, Yue, are you certain? Once you are there, your future is over. It is a pit from which you can never crawl out of. Yu Ling kept dropping more and more hints to do the opposite. I was forced to go there, but you shouldn't. Why do you insist on wasting yourself away? But Yue's decision was final. Sect leader, I want to go to the labor office. As it is your choice, I won't force you. You shall henceforth be a laborer. Now go. Yue waved coldly. Venerable Shu was uneasy. Sect leader, how can we do this to a talent? She wants the labor office rather than helping the sect. What would you have me do, beg? Humph, forcing her will only make it worse. Yue flicked his sleeve. From now on, the girl is a laborer, so don't let me see you going after her still. If you've got so much time to waste, you'd better use it preparing for the competition 3 months from now. It's a chance for your disciples and yourselves. Don't squander it. Yue left with a hard face, annoyed that Yue refused his goodwill and selected the labor office. Alas, no one noticed the flicker of a smile tracing his face just before leaving. Venerable Shu scowled, his eyes wandering like his thoughts. Something's definitely off about all of this, but what? The sect leader threw her into that dump too fast. Was it just to abandon her, or something else? Venerable Shu turned to a frowning grand elder. He read the old man's eyes. The thoughts running through his head were the same. Gui who, come. Grand elder left Gui, who rushed to follow him. Venerable Shu called Liu Shu over and left to ponder as well. Soon, all the oldies left, leaving Yue on the ring with one last look of pity. A shame for those baubles, with no excuse. I can't take them. Or just stealing them will make others attack me. Doing all the work just to have another profit from it was such a waste. As such, the elders came to a silent accord, only to move when another got them first. They all left with snickers and evil glints in their eyes. Only Kuei Lang, Yu Ling and her sister remained. Fool, why are you going to that damn place? I myself barely got out. Yu Ling grumbled, but more than anything she was worried. Yue giggled, I believe that I'll become far stronger there. Didn't you see me kill Humaya? I took revenge. The two jerked with surprise. Yeah, which elder or venerable could make someone be reborn and grow so much in 3 months? It might be far better to stand by his side than to end up an elite. The two were getting fired up. And Kuei Lang recalled his dear son. The 3 lurking shadows were disappointed. Never mind the 3 demonic treasures, just the fact that her Yuan Qi is so cold and icy makes her a gem. She needs a bit of guidance and she'll stand atop even elites. One said. The others nodded, before shaking their heads. A pity Wu sent her to be a laborer. The elites lost a good seed. Just what is up with Wu Yue? He should use her, not throw her away. That black wind blade is worlds above the other girl's charm whammy. She'd have taken us far in the double dragon gathering. Let's drop it. Wu Yue may be rash but not one to ignore the bigger picture, or he wouldn't have become the sect leader. I've got a feeling that things are more complicated than they seem. I'll ask him about the girl and that kid. No matter what, the kid must become an elite. The others nodded and the shadows flew away. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan had just gotten back to the labor office, the rundown house stirring in him. Wistfulness, ha ha ha, I must be really born to work under others. Zhuo Fan chuckled, walking towards the door and shouting, "Is Elder Yuan around? I'm back." The door creaked open and Elder Yuan's humble face stuck out. "Hey, Steward Zhuo, weren't you supposed to never come out of the cemetery? Those two made me stay there for a month, but I took 3. Can't I come out even now?" Zhuo Fan grinned. Elder Yuan rolled his eyes. "Please, those two are practically worshipping you. I may be of low cultivation, but I still got a good pair of eyes on these old bones. Since you're stronger and those two are back in the inner sect, that makes you the big cheese in here." "Oh no, I marched to my own beat. Elder Yuan, you're the one in charge, it's best if you handle the labor office. But if you meet some hard times, I can just lend a hand, ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Elder Yuan nodded. "Why thank you, Steward Zhuo, for becoming my rock. Now I can finally get the respect this old body deserves." Elder Yuan stuck out his chest and put on a feisty look. But with his short stature, it looked funny. Elder Yuan scratched his head and chuckled along Zhuo Fan. The two acted like age-old friends, like they've never been closer. It was a first for Zhuo Fan. Oh, he had had his fair share of loyal men, Li Jingtian and the power couple, but that was based on rank, while the difference in mentality made sure that no common ground was established, nothing to talk about. While with Elder Yuan, he'd never felt freer. He had gained from their talks as well, so while the old man was weak, he had a broad heart, earning Zhuo Fan's respect. To him, Elder Yuan was his equal. "Steward Zhuo, I heard you trained Yue for 3 months in order to deal with Hu Maya." Elder Yuan added. Zhuo Fan nodded. "Yes, and there should be no problems. Why are you so carefree while they fight? Shouldn't you be watching the fight?" Elder Yuan asked. Zhuo Fan smiled. "Why, when her win is obvious? I'll be honest, I've put a lot of effort into that girl." Zhuo Fan pointed and a blue flame appeared. Elder Yuan's eyes widened. "What dash? I'm an alchemist and in my travels, I found this flame." Zhuo Fan spilled its secrets. "This flame protects the soul and can also harm it. I used it to refine the soul bead replica, azure bead. With the flames inside it, Hu Maya's soul attacks will bite her instead. The azure flame inside isn't strong but enough." Elder Yuan blinked at the azure flame in shock. The flame didn't seem much in its tame form, but he felt its raw and destructive power. "Steward Zhuo, you can make a 9th grade spiritual weapon?" "Ha ha ha, that's not all. I gave her an armor piece and a weapon as well, the 8th grade demonic treasure, dragon locking armor, and the 8th grade dark moon blade. So you tell me if she'll win or not. Failing even now will prove that she had to die." Zhuo Fan raised a smug eyebrow, though Elder Yuan was too lost for words at the sheer wealth he had dished out. "And here I thought he already had them, when in fact he actually made them. A 9th grade tool refiner and a 10th grade alchemist, and to say nothing about his outrageous cultivation." Chapter 559, Disciple. Chapter 559, Disciple. Elder Yuan was confused for a long time, almost forgetting about the real topic. "Steward Zhuo, wouldn't it be better for you to handle Hu Maya? Why would you let a young girl do it?" "Ha ha ha, Elder Yuan, you should know the structure of the sect better than me." Zhuo Fan had a vague smile, but a wise gaze. "To get to someone, you go through his men first. Hu Maya is a nobody, hardly matters if she's out of the picture. I could have killed her with a snap but let her go just for today. When a grand inner disciple falls at the hands of an outer disciple, the whole sect will be shocked, and the oldies behind her will be floored. But this is only the beginning. If you think I'll just stop at smacking them around, you'd be dead wrong. In regards to fighting authority as an underdog, like they say, first time is a coincidence, second time's a happenstance, but the third and fourth times, now you fools are damn useless." Elder Yuan frowned, then cried, "Why you want to flip the sect system?" "Correct. The inner sect is a gangrene simply because the elites are chosen from there so that each elder and venerable gets a share of resources. But how can they share resources when no inner disciple is worthy of being elite?" Zhuo Fan snickered. "Now do you understand why I didn't do it myself? My success will only be short-lived. They just make me an executive of the inner sect and make my efforts moot. They'll even say everything I did was for the inner sect, and then I'll start becoming like them, looking for disciples to get a share of resources. Xie Wuyue surely does not want that to happen." Elder Yuan panicked. "Steward Zhuo, You can't say sect leader's name like that. You need to address him by his title. Why, we're all friends here. Besides, Xiaoyue needs me too much to throw it all away just over some technicality. Zhuo Fan dissed him. Elder Yuan understood this kid was sharp and lofty beyond his years. He knew when to be humble, when to step back, and when to charge with impunity. Elder Yuan rubbed his beard. Is this why you came to the labor office? I think so. Xiaoyue has put me outside the political plays of the sect so I don't get absorbed into the conflict and could break the endless chain of greed. Labor office is the bottom of the food chain which those oldies can't reach. While thinking that brat will be easy to control here and hard to mess with me. Zhuo Fan whispered. Elder Yuan shook his head. Wu was known for his short temper, but this fearless kid had no respect for him whatsoever. I bet he'd be so angry, he'd stomp the sect flat. But just like Zhuo Fan said, it's your fault for needing him. Elder Yuan laughed inside. By your words, does that mean you're going to teach more people? But who will come besides that miss? That miss was forced by circumstances, with her broken meridians, to get the heaven-reaching pill from you. Who on earth would risk death to mess with those average inner disciples? There will be at least one more disciple after today. Zhuo Fan grinned. They could never conceive it earlier because of uncertainty and doubt in my skills. But you are acting as proof. At least Kuei Lang's kid will be sure to come knocking. Who doesn't want to get stronger anyway? Who doesn't like a shortcut to the inner sect or to become an elite? And when Kuei Gang wins, then even more will come, and soon, the elites won't be coming from the inner sect, but from Steward Zhuo's direct teachings. Elder Yuan finished, his eyes glinting more and more at the ineffable Zhuo Fan. That's the same as sacking the inner sect. But the resource upkeep will be huge. Bang tilde. Zhuo Fan cut him off by slapping his chest with a cocky grin. No problem, I can cover it all. SSS tilde. Gasping, Elder Yuan was floored by how cocksure Zhuo Fan was. Where did this money bag come from? He's got on him as much as the demon scheming sect has gained over 1,000 years. Elder Yuan pondered. What's the point of petty tricks when you have so much dough? Elder Yuan frowned. Steward Zhuo, the plan is solid, but have you ever considered the outcome of these challenges? What else could happen? They win, they gain fame, become inner disciples and soon elites, the envy of everyone. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Elder Yuan held his gaze. You really think so? Zhuo Fan frowned, then shook his head. They say old men are wise for a reason. Yes, starting with Yue, none of them will have an easy time in the inner sect. They'll be ostracized because of the fact that they beat an inner disciple as an outer disciple. Next would be tutelage, with every oldie greedy for the trinkets on them, no matter who they pick. Even with Venerable by having Yue's sister, he'd use this excuse to get his hands on them. If she chose another oldie, she'd have it even worse. Venerable by won't help her, and the second elder will hate her guts, all while being looked on with greed by the rest. I've worried a lot about her future. Zhuo Fan sighed. Elder Yuan nodded. Steward Zhuo's heart is like a mirror, piercing every veil. That means all these kids will suffer at your hand. It is the lesser evil for the greater good. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Small sacrifices net you greater rewards. Soldiers are there to be used and thrown away. This time I used a single one to test the waters, knowing it will never return. Besides, no pawn can ever move backwards. All they can do is advance and advance. Once they're in the enemy's camp, in the inner sect, their fate is in their hands. I merely gave them the push they needed, and it's up to Xiaoyue to keep the momentum going and wrest back control of the inner sect. Elder Yuan's brow shook with sorrow. Pawns, but after all they are the people you've nurtured yourself. Even considering them as tools to discard, it's still such a huge loss. Steward Zhuo, have you thought about calling them back? Never. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Elder Yuan was startled. Why, they'll be your arms and legs here, in the labor office. And when you become an executive elder, they'll make your faction, bringing better results. I don't need them. Zhuo Fan's tone was final. I don't need someone's trash. And I'm only here because Xiaoyue gave me a 9th grade pill, per our agreement. Once I hold my end and do what he wants, I'm gone. And besides, which disciple will throw away their bright future as an inner disciple for this dump? Elder Yuan, we're all men with experience, our gaze on the horizon. But they are just too green. They do not understand the meaning of blessing in disguise. Exploiting them, then recalling after they've won will only make them hate me to the bone. Zhuo Fan sighed, a smile of contempt for the ignorant world around him. Elder Yuan sighed with him. That's why you don't care about the sect and aren't thrilled to make it thrive like Wu Yue. Ha ha ha, it's just a phase for you. Elder Yuan was frustrated. Such a talent yet no care for the sect was the sect's loss. Steward Zhuo, are you here? A shout came. Zhuo Fan grinned. See, Kuei Lang's already here. US Win was free advertising. I bet he even brought his kid. Yeah, ha ha ha. Elder Yuan's eyes flashed. The two walked out to meet 4 people outside, the sisters and the father and son, but Zhuo Fan had yet to put on the smartass smug smile as Yue and Kuei Gang kneeled and kowtowed 3 times. Please take us in, master. Zhuo Fan was shocked. Chapter 560, Sore Spot. Chapter 560, Sore Spot. Ah, what's going on? Zhuo Fan was floored. The 2 youngsters' eyes steeled and they cupped their hands. Please master, take us in. Ha ha ha, congratulations, Steward Zhuo. You have new disciples. Elder Yuan laughed. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling joined him without shame. Like he'd just have to agree no matter what. Face twitching, Zhuo Fan's mind ran a mile a minute and he snapped, congrats my foot. I'm still just a disciple myself. If you want a master, go to those old-timers. Especially you. Zhuo Fan pointed at Yue. Don't you dare tell me that you lost. You should be replacing that fox instead as an inner disciple. What have you come running back for? Yue pondered, then looked him in the eye. Take me in. Take my foot. All those old-timers await your bow to bring you a bright future. What the hell are you doing back in this dump, for me? I'm a disciple, god damn it. Zhuo Fan sighed. Yue was stubborn. Being under your care will make me stronger than them. Strong my ass. I'm just a laborer who can't do anything right. Zhuo Fan flared his nose. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang chimed in. Steward Zhuo, it's not the place that's famous but the one residing in it. I've never seen anyone make a disciple so strong in just 3 months. I believe Yue can only live up to her potential under you. My brat shall be in your care as well. I hope he'll soon catch up to his senior sister. Ha ha ha. Kuei Lang pushed his son over with no shame. Zhuo Fan was brooding, then shrugged. You better not complain about it later. There's nothing in the labor office. I have no resources or pills to give them either. How far do you think they'll go? Ha ha ha. With Steward Zhuo being the moneybags, a few disciples will barely strain his pockets. Giving the kids to him is the best decision. Elder Yuan butted in. Look at Yue's gear that got all those elders and venerables vying for her. All of it came from Steward Zhuo. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's eyes sparkled. Rather than be pals with a moneybag, taking him as godfather was way better. And master wasn't that far off either. With the brats under Zhuo Fan, they believed not even the labor office could thwart their progress. They'd have done the same, but since they already had a master, they couldn't. Zhuo Fan's wealth had that kind of effect on people. Zhuo Fan eyed Elder Yuan and sighed. Elder Yuan, could you please not cramp my style? Ha ha ha, but I'm not, only helping you set the stage. Your disciples will come back running and lift you up. Why let them go to waste? As for being a disciple, you shouldn't nitpick, since teaching isn't dependent on age. Elder Yuan chuckled. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang bobbed their heads. Zhuo Fan's face was hard. I can never accept disciples, not now, not ever. And Kuei Gang. If you want to be like Yue, I can teach you for 3 months, but that's it. Take it or leave it. Zhuo Fan entered the house. Yu Ling and Kuei Lang froze. What's with Steward Zhuo? Isn't it just some disciples? Steward Zhuo, Yue refused to be an inner disciple and willingly returned to your side. You'll condemn her by refusing. Yu Ling implored, but all that came was a cold voice. That's her choice, nothing to do with me. Yu Ling looked at the rest shaking their heads, and everyone placed their last hopes on Elder Yuan. The old man pondered before turning serious. Wait here, I will settle this. This is about your honor and the sect's design. They were puzzled while looking at Zhuo Fan's door. Isn't it just about us? Elder Yuan entered the house. Here they could speak at leisure. At Zhuo Fan's glum look, Elder Yuan smiled. Steward Zhuo, are you touchy? As if. Then a sore spot. Even less. Zhuo Fan denied. Elder Yuan smiled. Oh yes, a sore spot. I said I don't have a sore spot. Zhuo Fan was annoyed. Why won't you take them then, yet show such dislike and revulsion? I'm a maverick. Zhuo Fan cut him off. Elder Yuan smiled. Ha ha ha, I've lived for so long and seen so many things, so you can't fool me. You'd be indifferent or ignore them if it's just being a maverick, not show such a strong hate for it. Something must gnaw at you. Talk to me, maybe I can help. Zhuo Fan glanced at the short elder and sighed. Elder Yuan, did a disciple ever betray you? Hey, Steward Zhuo, you're such a kidder. Look at me, I'm but a frail old laborer. Who'd want me as their master? Why, did a disciple betray you? Elder Yuan probed, nodding. Zhuo Fan sighed. He truly surpassed his master. Back then, we were close as kin, yet to steal from me he colluded with others and wounded me deeply. I vowed to never have a disciple. Zhuo Fan's eyes were filled with fear and bloodthirst. Oh, did you kill him? Got revenge? Elder Yuan said the issue would have been more or less settled if he did. His silence was answer enough. That this point bothered him more and more. Zhuo Fan shook his head in hatred. He is too far away. But one day, I will find him and pulverize him for his betrayal. Elder Yuan nodded, then said, all the more reason for you to take in the kids. Zhuo Fan stared back. Elder Yuan, are you pouring salt on my wounds? You know my pain and still insist. No, I only have your best at heart when I say this. Elder Yuan continued, since your disciple caused you pain, it will only end with disciples. If you shirk away, you'll never overcome the pain, while keeping it bottled in, and one day it will become a trauma. It will only harm you. Instead, by teaching honorable disciples, it might soothe your anguish. As demonic cultivators, we go against the world order, braving any dangers and obstacles. This is one of them. Bear through it to relish its fruits. Ignoring it and avoiding the issue will hold you back from reaching the best you can be, no matter how high you go. Because your heart is incomplete. Elder Yuan pointed at his chest. Zhuo Fan felt his heart become broader and freeing his Yuan Qi into flowing faster. He had grown once more in his heart and mind. Elder Yuan, I would have taken you as my master if not for your low cultivation. Zhuo Fan grinned. Elder Yuan gave a warm nod. With you as my disciple, my life has found meaning. They both laughed, finding such a close friend. They both relished the experience. Zhuo Fan and Elder Yuan walked out and saw the two still kneeling. He agreed, and Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were overjoyed. The kids' future was going to be brighter than ever. Like, where are the experts, only to find they already beat them all. Chapter 561, Valued. Chapter 561, Valued. Are you there, Wu Yue? In the sect leader's hall, Xie Wu was sitting on his throne with a jade slip in hand, detailing the distribution of resources when a vague baritone entered the hall. Xie Wu sighed. Fiend Yang, what on earth brought you here? To talk, of course. A red-faced and bulging belly middle-aged man walked in. On one side was a glum beanpole and on the other was a refined man with a fan. Xie Wu nodded at them. For all three fiends of hell to come, it must be serious. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Am I not important enough? The fat man scowled. Xie Wu said, watch your tongue. You're speaking to the sect leader. Oh please, weren't you Fiend Xie in our little gang of 4? Stop playing around, we're all brothers here. Go mess with bystanders if you're so keen. Fiend Yang flicked his sleeve. Xie Wu turned glum, staring at him and roaring, guards, throw these bastards out. Yes, sir. Many executives came in, but at the sight of the three, they shrank and looked at Xie Wu conflicted. Venerable sirs. The guy with the fan smiled. Withdraw, we brothers are only joking. Yes, Fiend Gui sir. The executives scampered off with a bow. In any other situation, these elders would have given their lives for sect leader, but these three were part of sect leader's clique, sharing life and death together, brothers having braved the double dragon gathering and were now venerables guiding elites. They all liked to take light of the situation and crack jokes. Attacking the three would not only irk these three but sect leader as well. I was only faking anger. The ones to suffer would be themselves, so they'd learned to stay clear. Fiend Gui had no trouble getting them to leave, and not even Xie Wu objected. It was obviously just a scare tactic. Once the 4 were left alone, the beanpole went right to it. Wu Yue, we want to know about someone, the same laborer that interfered with the inner sect competition. Who is he? That sect leader. After emphasizing his status out of reflex, Xiaowu sighed. The brat is someone I brought from outside. Zhuo Fan is an outstanding chapter. Stop stating the obvious. I'm not here for some confirmation. Fiend Yang rolled his eyes. Why did you put him in the labor office? He's no waste, or did he incur some punishment? Xiaowu smiled. What punishment, since he's been there from the start? Why, you foolish sect leader? You're ruining everything. Dumping such a genius into labor. Ah, my heart can't take it. Fiend Yang held his chest and bewailed. I warn you, Xiaowu, we're lacking elites now more than ever. So get him out. The other two nodded. Xiaowu replied with a snicker. Have you forgotten that anyone thrown in the labor office will have their future cut off? On coming out, he'll become an elder or venerable at most, but never an elite. Xiaowu, why you damn sect leader? You just wasted a damn good seed. What about the double dragon gathering? Who is going to go if not him? Are we going to disgrace ourselves before the 9 sects again? Fiend Yang pointed at him. Fiend Gui stared hard but smiled. Wuyue, you're the most calculative among us, your mind broader, and that's also why you're sitting on that throne. You didn't just do this out of foolishness, did you? Heh, I brought him in and am still waiting for him to bring me rewards. You think I wanted him to be a laborer? I planned on making him my disciple and use this status to make him an elite. That's better. Fiend Yang butted in excitedly. Under the wise and brilliant sect leader's tutelage, such genius is bound to shine and break out of that accursed rule. But what's he still doing there then? Someone opposed it. Xiaowu sighed. Fiend Yang squinted. Someone was against such a genius. Who? Let me have a go at him. It's those oldies, right? How many times did those old-timers ruin our sect? How many talents did they kill? Talk, who was it? An elder or a venerable? High venerable. Xiaowu said. Glum Ua. Fiend Yang recoiled and said, how can it be him? High venerable is the greatest genius, giving his all for the sect and prizing honor above all else. Why would he deny such a talent from coming into the sect? Fiend Gui frowned. The other two were just as stunned. Xiaowu was blunt. No need to guess, High Venerable must have his reasons. And he told me just a few days back that he has a new plan, for the kid to never leave the labor office. You might as well forget about recruiting the brat as an elite. What? They all cried out. High Venerable hates him that much? Why? Xiaowu smiled. No hatred, and from the message he sent, High Venerable sounded quite happy. And then there's his last sentence. Strength is everywhere. He doesn't want an elite, and you 3 venerables can't guide him either. The 3 were stunned. They were past winners of the Double Dragon Gathering, ethereal stage experts and teachers of elites, yet couldn't even guide a profound heaven stage cultivator. Well, he was a freak, but still. Hold up, then who's supposed to guide him? High Venerable. The 3 echoed. Xiaowu grinned. Meanwhile, in a secluded room, Grand Elder was sitting cross-legged. The person in front of him was sitting as well, but his muscles were tense and he was soaked in sweat. It was Gui who, opening his eyes, Grand Elder shook his head. Let it go, it's been 3 days now. It's not easy collecting yourself so quickly. Who tilde? Gui who eased a breath and felt like he had just gone through a hard battle. How do you feel? Are you at peace? Grand Elder asked. Gui who frowned and shook his head. Grand Elder sighed. It's not easy reaching such a level. You need to take it slow. Master, why are you so insistent that I meditate, yet never let me practice my arts? I've never met my match in the inner sect but outside. Gui who recalled the day Zhuo Fan swiped at him and tensed up again. Grand Elder could relate. Gui who, you and him are worlds apart. You can't reach him, especially in mentality and heart. Mind, heart. Gui who was perplexed. Grand Elder nodded. Yes, the heart. Gui who, you've trained the underworld fiend to its peak, and no one in the inner sect can hold a candle to you, but over these days I have seen your heart and seen it lacking. I did not have a reason to mind it until the event on the ring. I realized just how far behind you are from him. If you were to correlate with cultivation, it would place him in the ethereal stage and you in the bone-tempering stage. It's just not something you can surmount. Say what? Gui who shook all over, still puzzled. Just what is heart? All he could comprehend was that he was behind, leagues behind. Chapter 562, The Heart Supreme. Chapter 562, The Heart Supreme. Gui Hu, what makes an expert great? Grand Elder asked Gui, who pondered for a while before his eyes flashed with bloodthirst, looking down on the world, with no one to match him. Weak. Grand Elder snorted, experience is the father of wisdom. The same applies to experts. The higher one's cultivation, the closer he touches upon the world's values, until he reaches the heart supreme, standing in perfect harmony with it. But don't think for a second that such a man is a pushover. They keep to themselves most of the time, and when they act, the whole world shudders, calamity strikes, and death spreads. What is perceived as a weakness is in fact hidden inside their hearts. A single intent can cower the living. This is what a true expert is. Gui, who looked hard at Grand Elder, perplexed. Grand Elder continued, despite his confusion, what did you think of the kid before you fought? Gui, who sighed and shook his head yes, he hid his sharpness, hiding the scope of his heart. While you have always been on a murderous rampage, hardly controlling your power. This simple point defines the gap between you. Grand Elder sighed, pointing at his heart. The heart in plain terms means one's window into the world's truth, the Tao. To you it might not mean much now, but the farther you go, the more you'll put a price on it. Every breakthrough comes with a fundamental change. Radiant stage discerning field, ethereal stage soul form are prime examples. But do you know how these skills came to be? Gui, who shook his head, Grand Elder replied, from one's insights. As you have never experienced it, you have never grasped the meaning of self-discipline. Or you'd have agreed with me that the heart is the root of all power, be it yuan qi, spiritual energy, or soul. When two experts have the same cultivation, the difference in their insights sets them worlds apart. The farther you go, the more obvious it becomes. It's said, one could bring about an apocalypse just with intent alone. It don't matter what yuan qi or soul one has. Gui, whose heart shuddered by cultivating all this time, the fiendish aura around him remained, but that was due to the neglect of heart. He might have had a quick rise, but in the long run it would hardly be of any help, treading a path for the weak master. Does that mean the elders and venerables have a high mentality? Gui, who asked Grand Elder, sighed. The demonic path is focused on selfishness, with few and far in between able to curb their desires and temper the demons within to gain insight into the demonic path. Even among elites and venerables. But this path will only stray them farther from the true experts. Do you recall how Venerable Sha got hurt when going after the kid when he bumped into High Venerable? Ha ha ha, they're both in the ethereal stage, yet one strike from High Venerable can kill him? Why? Because of the heart. High Venerable puts a price on understanding the world, and that makes him the strongest in the sect. It is the sole reason he got out of the labor office and became our best expert. Rumor has it that High Venerable cultivated to radiant stage in just 100 years, despite his poor talent. Yet now no one can reach him, all because of his insights into Tao. It makes one wonder, maybe he'd have gone beyond the ethereal stage with just a little bit better talent. A true pity. Grand Elder lamented, but Gui, who was speechless. Nothing could have prepared him for how important one's heart was. It could even turn a simple man into the strongest expert while he fell utterly short, and the farther he went, it only exacerbated the difference. Grand Elder said, Gui, who, I hoped for you to become an elite and fight in the Double Dragon gathering. But your future is of greater importance. Curb your desires and focus on the heart. Master. Gui, whose heart jumped, but isn't it too late? Ha ha ha. It's never too late. Grand Elder laughed. Unlike cultivation, tempering your heart can be done anytime. Some even waste half their lives on one insight. Look at Impermanence 5, aren't they the prime example of following High Venerable's footsteps? Their souls form a rarely seen domain, but with a frail heart, it would be weak. The sole reason for their strength, renowned through the Western lands, is their hearts, just below High Venerable. Gui, whose eyes shook, and he nodded. But then he hesitated. Master, just what is that kid's level then? Much higher than mine. Grand Elder sighed. He is a rarity. Not only his power is supreme, but so is his heart. The simple way he struck gave me the same feeling High Venerable did. Say what? Gui, who was stunned. Zhuo Fan not only was stronger but had a heart on the same level as High Venerable Grand Elder was wistful. Gui Hu, sect leader, has brought in an exceptional expert. Not one of the disciples can hold a candle to him. Please keep this in mind the next time you see him and show restraint. Sect leader must have brought him to deal with us elders and venerables. Sigh, sect leader is finally on the move. Gui Hu's heart was a mess. Zhuo Fan, just a profound heaven disciple, yet was at the rank of elders and venerables. I see it now, why he never cared about me when attacking. I am nothing. Gui Hu shook his head in bitterness. He had never been ignored by his opponents, never suffered such a setback in his life. Moving on, Zhuo Fan brought his new pupils to the array in the cemetery and he just stood there carefree. Then Kuei Lang and Yu Ling popped before him with a bow. Steward Zhuo, it's finished. Good, let's begin. Zhuo Fan gestured them to the side and made a sign as he chanted, "May the blood tide swallow the world, may disaster envelop the universe." Zhuo Fan extended a finger. Tilde. The others watched as a shimmering door appeared, letting out wails and screams like no other as it opened. Kuei Gang tensed up. "Master, shall I go in?" "You're in the mood for joking. Why else did your dad and Yu Ling bring the remaining corpses over and I have set up the blood slaughter array? It's for you and blood annihilation training. Now will you shy away, after all we've done for you?" Zhuo Fan retorted. Kuei Gang gulped, the shrieks grating on his nerves. "Master, isn't it dangerous? How else are you supposed to cultivate? How else do you think Yua gained 3 layers so fast? She jumped right in and yet you can't even compare to a girl." Zhuo Fan snickered. Yua tugged his sleeve. "Master, you pushed me." Zhuo Fan's face twitched, glaring back, "Keep your nonsense to yourself. Are you trying to make me look bad?" Shrinking back, Yua fell silent and Kuei Gang chuckled inside. Then Kuei Lang appeared, hoisted him by the collar and threw him in. "You call yourself a man without going through a bit of danger? Is this my son, cowering before a bit of pain? Ah, Dad, you're killing me." Howls came from the blood slaughter array. Kuei Lang cast Zhuo Fan a worried look. After all, Zhuo Fan shrugged. "Don't look at me. You pushed them onto me. This is my teaching style, pushing the disciples to the brink of death. I've set up this array based on his peak strength. All he has to do to survive is advance, or die." "Die?" Kuei Lang was bug-eyed. Zhuo Fan nodded. "Yep, do you regret it?" "Well, tough luck, it's too late now. If my disciples can't take it, they'd just have to lie down forever." Kuei Lang was panicking now. He thought it was just a bit of pain when in fact it was a matter of life and death. Zhuo Fan is doing things to the extreme even when it comes to his disciples. Zhuo Fan made another sign and another door appeared with a rumble. It revealed endless mist with no preamble. He threw Yua in. Yu Ling froze and the next thing she heard was her sister's cries. "Steward Zhuo." Yu Ling tensed. Zhuo Fan said coldly, "Just a bewildering array. It's good for the heart. Earlier I only gave her a crash course, but as my disciples, I need to think of their future and have their hearts in mind. Every 2 hours, her entire life will flash before her eyes, all the baggage included. She'll only get out when she understands it." Yu Ling nodded, next hearing Yua's laughter 1 second then crying the next. She has had a rough life. Chapter 563, Reopening of the Inner Sect Competition. Chapter 563, Reopening of the Inner Sect Competition. Months fell off the calendar and the time for the Inner Sect Competition was nigh. Again the oldies were back in their designated seats looking over the designated stage with Xiewua sitting in his designated throne stewing in the same old boredom. Seeing nothing had changed, the same disciples, we just like before, with one exception. 2 disciples were missing who Maya got the short end of the stick, making her an obvious absentee, yet what raised eyebrows was Gui Hu. There was no sight of him. Tilde. The 5th match in the 3rd ring goes to Kuei Lang, the 4th match in 6th ring goes to Yu Ling, the 6th match in the 2nd ring goes to Liu Shu. From within the sounds of punching, the judge chimed in with the results. Venerable Sha held his beard, eyeing Grand Elder. "What's up with him? Why isn't Gui Hu here? Is he giving up on his spot?" Grand Elder had never been calmer. Even Xiewua grew suspicious of his attitude. Did Zhuo Fan scare him too much last time and he held his disciple back? While the rest were even more suspicious. With Gui Hu being the main seed to become elite, why the hell would Grand Elder suddenly hold him back? Despite all the suspicions going around, the competition ended and the elite spots were taken. Besides the obvious 3 seen last time, the other 2 were just average disciples. In the second layer of Radiant stage, Xiaowu's mood sank. Humph, this is even worse than last time. Venerable Sha remained silent with a mocking grin. Who told you to butt in last time? Now you have 1 less elite candidate. Heh, you got what you deserved, sect leader. The other oldies lamented as well. Those 2 softies were no elite material, but what choice did they have? It wasn't like they made Gui who brutalize every disciple he met last time and left them with crumbs in this one. The 2 were so weak, even together they couldn't harm Kuei Lang. Sect leader, the 5 elites have been decided. Venerable Sha smiled. Xiaowu clenched his fists and waited. A loud voice came right on cue. Wait, I want to challenge. A tall and sturdy youth flew in, paying his respects. Sect leader, I, Kuei Gang, am an outer sect disciple requesting a challenge. Xiaowu nodded after a long look, his mood turned for the better. Ha ha ha, this is the greatest attraction of the inner sect competition. Venerable Sha was seething. Again, sect leader? Yep. Venerable Sha gave back a taunting eyebrow. Going above your station is commendable, Kuei Gang, although you'll be walking between life and death. Sect leader, it's because I do not care about the danger that I must challenge. Kuei Gang bowed with confidence. Kuei Lang nodded in pride. With his son being in the Radiant stage now, meant he would have an easier time than Yua, who was only at peak Profound Heaven stage at the time of her challenge. As for the gap in strength, stewards were made up for it in spades, and trinkets Xiaowu praised. Zhuo Fan did it again, bringing forth another expert in 3 months. And said, Kuei Gang, who is your target? I want to challenge senior brother Liu Shu. Kuei Gang cupped his hands, his eyes fixed on his target. Liu Shu mocked, a fresh Radiant stage pup wants to take me on? Humph, do you think I'm Hu Maya and would fall like nothing? 5 layers difference isn't just for show, especially now that I've come prepared. Liu Shu's hand shone brightly and a scarlet brush appeared. His body did the same and a spiritual armor outfitted him. The elders and venerables cried out. 8th grade demonic treasure, heaven leading brush, and 7th grade demonic treasure, flowing light cloud armor? Xiaowu's brow shook, eyeing Venerable Sha. You went all out, I see. Even giving him your prized possessions. Venerable Sha chuckled, sect leader, you're too kind. What can one do when the competition has devolved into a test of wealth and not skill? Even with my meager coffers, I at least have enough to give my disciple a head start. Xiaowu squinted and turned to Kuei Gang. With Liu Shu geared up, his power was through the roof. If Kuei Gang just copied Yua and took out the 3 baubles from last time, he'd still come up short. It's cut and dry. Kuei Lang frowned with worry for once. He didn't think for a second that Venerable Sha would dump demonic treasures on his disciple and wondered if Zhuo Fan's plan for this challenge would succeed. While Kuei Gang was at ease, his eyes serious. Nice items, for offense and defense. I'll just have to give it my all then. Kuei Gang held a vial and the thick intoxicating smell spread. Many oldies cried, 9th grade pill, savage blood pill. Since I train in blood annihilation technique, the savage blood pill can boost my blood flow dozens of times. Even in the first layer, this pill alone will give me the power of a 3rd layer. Kuei Gang swallowed it. A bloody aura surrounded him and only increased as time went on. The stench of blood gave a nauseating feeling. Liu Shu was outraged. Rotten punk, do you have a death wish? Pushing your blood to flow so fast will end with you blowing up. Why, thank you for your concern. But this time will be different, since I took the 10th grade pill, heaven-reaching pill beforehand. Kuei Gang grinned as his body shuddered. The elders and venerables were filled with envy. A heaven-reaching pill? We didn't get one yet. A snot-nosed brat got to enjoy such blessings. Liu Shu felt, to his shock, how the gap was bridged inch by inch. All that remained between them were 2 layers, but his confidence resurged, placed on the demonic treasures. Short-lived as it was, courtesy of Kuei Gang's next ace, 5 glittering and equally blinding lights. As the light ebbed, everyone stared slack-jawed, their eyes popping out. Kuei Gang was armored to the teeth in 4 9th grade demonic treasures, in conformity to his style. In fact, exuding a bloody glow. 9th grade demonic treasure, Blood Shadow Cloud Strider. Kuei Gang showed off the new shoes with a grin. They were practically made for my cultivation method. Even senior brother Liu Shu will have trouble tracking my movements, ha ha ha. Let's not forget about the vaulting blood demon armor. And blood sea banner. World-piercing claw. The motif for Kuei Gang's set was that of skulls. His right arm held the bloody banner, his left the red claw, all demonic treasures of great power. Liu Shu's mind left him. Venerable Sha's got stuck, Xie Wuyue's bogged down, and the oldies had none to speak of. The whole of demon scheming sect was watching as their minds flew away. Chapter 564, Another Luo Clan. Chapter 564, Another Luo Clan. For crying out loud, are all outer disciples' moneybags now, coming to throw their wealth around in the inner sect? That Missy was bad enough, now this kid's showing off his bling too? Then again, old guys like us don't have anything to show. Don't you see, Venerable Sha had to dig his coffers to barely do it, yet still failed. The inner sect competition should be a test of skills and knowledge, not to strut in with one more gold chain. How vulgar, how malignant. By the way, child, mind letting one of these bags of bones take you in? And the trinkets, of course. All oldies looked on with bloodshot eyes at the glittering Kuei gang and smacked their lips. Venerable Sha felt like cursing. Did sect leader gear these challengers? This wealth is too much even for him. Even if some outer disciples comes geared, it will be at most like last time. But to think there's someone who can top her. Sect leader, aren't your coffers too deep? Who among us can take out 4 9th grade demonic treasures, and freaking in tune with the wielder at that? He has to have taken it from the sect. Xie Wuyue was glum, Venerable Sha was suspicious. Talk, sect leader, are you corrupted? Xie Wuyue felt that his look earned him at least a couple of slaps. I'm the sect leader here, giving my all for the sect, and you accuse me of embezzling? When in fact it's you, old guys, trying to skim the sect of resources in the most legit manner. Yet you come question me? Get lost. But at the sight of those dashing demonic treasures, he fell silent. Even he'd come to the same conclusion if he were in their shoes. Where else would an outer disciple get all this stuff? When not even a sect leader could take out so many. Zhuofan, what the hell did you do the last 2 years to get so rich? You're making me envious of you. No wonder High Venerable came up with that plan. Humph, only a moneybags like you can pull this off. Xie Wuyue smiled and sighed, still envious of Zhuofan. Just some secular steward and yet wealthier than a sect leader. Kuei Lang was shuddering with excitement and was on the verge of tears. That's why the 4 scheming demons stick with stewards were even back in the sect. He's too rich, throwing out 4 9th grade demonic treasures like nothing. No one in the sect can top him, not even elites get such treatment. Getting him as master is the best thing that could happen to anyone. You'd get tons of resources and heaps of treasures and pills. Being elite. That's for the poor. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling looked excited at the kids being under Zhuofan. Senior brother Liu Shu, your move. Kuei Gang grinned, raising the blood-sea banner, and the sky took a bloody hue, with the air taking a heavy scent. While the world-piercing claw on his left arm left 5 bloody trails in the air as it tore the space. Staring at the 4 demonic treasures, Liu Shu looked at his own too and his face twitched, finding himself lacking by a mile. Senior brother Liu Shu, by your leave. Kuei Gang taunted. Liu Shu's lips shook, his eyes went red and he snapped, by your sister. Goddamn-it, pushover. How the hell am I supposed to fight with you all geared up? I freaking quit. I'm out. Crack. Liu Shu threw away his 8th grade demonic treasure like trash and stomped away in anger. Venerable Sha was about to call him back, but no words came out. What's the point when it's obvious there is no chance of winning? Glancing at the brush on the ring, Venerable Sha had a bitter smile. I scraped the bottom of the barrel to get it, yet it looks so dull now. Venerable Sha shook his head and flicked his hand for the brush to come to him. He mocked, sect's leader's wealth is beyond measure. You're truly our leader in name and in reality. Don't look at me, I've got nothing to do with this. Xie Wuyue squinted in anger, then said to Kuei Gang, since Liu Shu has abstained, the win goes to Kuei Gang and so does the elite spot. You may now choose an elder or venerable as a master and become an elite. Kid, over here. No, pick me, I'm totally devoted to cultivating. The same thing happened to you 3 months ago and this was just a repeat performance. Every elder and venerable outdid themselves in trying to get the gaudy disciple. But Kuei Gang had already made his decision, ignoring the squabbling fools and bowing. Sect leader, I already have a master in the labor office. Please send me there as well to stay by his side. A laborer takes on outer disciples. Everyone was speechless, looking at each other with dumb looks. Is that guy worthy? Xie Wuya smiled and nodded. All right, since you have such a filial heart, then I shall let you go to your master. And please tell your dear master that these items are quite nice and ask him to make me a set as well. Xie Wuya got up and swaggered off to his hall, but his words only stoked the flames as the oldies and the disciples around were bug-eyed. What the hell? A laborer gave all these trinkets to an outer disciple? And even the sect leader asked for some, not ordered it. That shows his respect. What kind of monster is hiding in the lowest rug of our sect? And why haven't we heard of him? Venerable Sha's eyes widened, while Grand Elder was calm, having seen it coming. The two outer disciple challengers all went back to the labor office. That place reeked of something for sure. Sect leader hid his man in such a low-key area to develop. So why expose him now? Has everything been set in motion? Grand Elder watched sect leader leave with a frown. Venerable Sha pondered. Sect leader, about the elite spots. Defeated again and again by mere outer disciples, and you think they are worthy to become our elites? Xie Wuya mocked. Venerable Sha frowned. Does that mean the competition is postponed again? Postponed? Xie Wuya stated. Do you think they can achieve some great enlightenment in a few months? No, I think the inner sect has lost its rights to be nurtured. Venerable Sha gripped his beard in shock. You mean to tell me the outer sect is more suited to be nurtured? Venerable Sha had suspicions. Now Xie Wuya was gone and left this old man with a headache about his real plan. Kuei Gang strutted off among the people's glares, showing off his bling as he left. While the oldies had greed in their eyes, the disciples were envious and longing to be in his shoes. You're telling me that punk Xie Wuya had you give me a message in front of everyone? Back at the cemetery, Zhuo Fan asked Kuei Gang. The kid nodded. Yes, master, sect leader did tell me. And probed. Master, why did it sound like sect leader is so close to you? No matter how close we are, that doesn't mean he had to make it public. Zhuo Fan muttered. I just had to do it once or twice more and I'd get the perfect excuse to tidy up the inner sect. But he announced my existence, so now I've got the attention of all those elders and venerables. But why? That's exactly why. A voice came from behind Zhuo Fan. Didn't you set up a Luo clan outside? Then I ask you to raise another Luo clan here, in the labor office. Chapter 565, Elite Labor Office. Chapter 565, Elite Labor Office. Whoosh. A grey shadow appeared and Kuei Gang bowed at once. Greetings, sect leader. He didn't see any features, but knew his voice. Moreover, he was stunned that the sect leader would come in person to the labor office to see his master. That's why Dad always told me that when master came to the labor office, he had a huge backing. Sect leader is that backing. How fortunate that father never fought him, or master would have killed him with his strength alone. Kuei Gang eased a breath, oblivious that his old man did challenge Zhuo Fan while he was out cold, only to be smacked back to his place, though his dad was too ashamed to admit this. Another Luo clan? Zhuo Fan asked as if Xie Wuya was his equal. Shivering inside, Kuei Gang sighed. Master is godlike. He doesn't fear even the sect leader, though he also saw how close the two were. Xie Wuya was helpless. This brat is a maverick, never giving a hoot about rules, but since I need him, I'll wait until the dust settles and give him a piece of my mind then. Though he wasn't about to expose this situation to anyone, or no one would take him seriously, so Xie Wuya bottled up all that annoyance and glared at Kuei Gang. Leave us. We have things to discuss. Yes, sir. Kuei Gang bowed and darted away in a jiffy. Hearing his cold tone, Xie Wuya said, I want you to raise another pillar in the labor office. Just like the inner sect and the elites are, to such an extent that those disciples will choose this place and leave those old guys hanging. Why? With just 2 more challenges, I will make the inner sect look useless and you can retake your authority. The cost to establish a new inner sect in the labor office is too big. Xie Wuya smiled. Those old-timers are rooted in the inner sect. No matter how I change it, it won't amount to anything. It might buy us time for when the Double Dragon gathering comes, but in the long run, it will still degenerate. While the labor office is a place no one gives a damn about, the freest. You can do anything you want and no one will tell you off. A new inner sect isn't a pet project. You need time, people and resources to pull a stunt like this. Especially resources, since even as a sect leader with all those oldies pushing you, you'll hardly have the legitimate reason to come support the labor office. Anyone can tell dumping resources here is a waste. No one will agree. Xie Wuya mocked, who said I'm giving you anything. You have all the resources you need. You want me to pay for it? Zhuo Fan pointed at his nose. Why the hell should I? I don't know how you got loaded and came into wealth, even giving disciples so many top goodies, yet now you are complaining about sharing some with the sect. You're a demon-scheming sect disciple right now, so act like one. Xie Wuya snorted, feeling mighty sour. I'd never speak of this plan if not for your deep pockets. You're the only one who can bear this responsibility and raise a new inner sect. As for time, since you took just 10 years to get Luo clan so high, you're sure to get a new inner sect built in a short time as well. Regarding people, you'll have the labor office to pick disciples from, and I've also spread the word that labor office houses an expert that can train elites in a short time. I reckon the inner and outer disciples will flock to you. So lighten up, it's all a matter of resources now, ha ha ha. Xie Wuya laughed and Zhuo Fan came out of his stupor 2 seconds later with a vengeance. You're robbing me blind. Going Robin Hood on me, are you? That's my hard-earned capital. I can't just take everyone. Think it through. As a moneybag, don't come crying to me. It is your contribution to the sect. By the way, the kid must have told you by now. Give me a set as well. I'm fresh out. You've robbed me of everything and became a pauper. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Xie Wuya hid a smile, feeling uplifted all of a sudden, and vanished with one last line. Kid, better make due on that set order I have for you. Since I'm covering for you, it's time you did something for me, ha ha ha. I'll do something all right, kick you in the tenders. I'm doing all the work and now you want me to pay for all of it too. Frickin' Frassum, no one's as dirty as you. Oh, right, this is a demonic sect, everyone here stinks. Zhuo Fan's mood sank and he gnashed his teeth. Xie Wuya, I'll get you for this and won't stop until you cry. Dang Tilda. Under the clear moon night, labor office was quiet as all laborious had come back after a toiling day of work and training, so that one day they may leave this hopeless hellhole, though those resigned to their fates just had a peaceful sleep, doing the work like robots. Then a clear bell ring sounded across the land and jerked them awake. Everyone looked around, stunned. The gathering bell? So soon? Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were the only ones who could use it, but with them gone, who'd have the same power? An aged voice called from outside. Everyone is to gather at once. Elder Yuan, who called the meeting? Aren't Kuei Lang and Yu Ling gone? One laborer rushed around in panic and asked the old man. Elder Yuan smiled. People come and go, but the camp is never without its soldiers. The two have left, but someone took their place. Hurry up now, or you'll piss him off. Elder Yuan went all over the place to announce, a new boss? Did an inner disciple get dumped here again? 2 left, yet another one shows up. Sigh, there's just no rest for the wicked. I wonder if he's any better. The gang rushed to the cave and the meeting place, but the boss left them speechless. It was no senior brother or sister, but a fellow they all knew too well. Zhuo Fan. Next to him were his 2 disciples, both in the radiant stage. The pressure bore down on the laborious and made them tense on the spot. Elder Yuan ran to the platform and grinned. Steward Zhuo, all are here. Thank you, Elder Yuan. Zhuo Fan looked down on the laborious. You are all gathered here for 2 reasons, one good and one bad. Everyone looked around puzzled. Zhuo Fan smiled. The bad news is, your happy days are over. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling are gone and you have had around half an year of easy time. But now, I am in charge of the labor office and will get you to make up for those 6 months of lost time. Every heart skipped a beat. Having a bad feeling. Zhuo Fan looked to be in the 8th layer of profound heaven stage, but his power went way beyond. Even Kuei Lang and Yu Ling showed respect. Can't you see his disciples? They're radiant stage experts, for crying out loud. The fact that they were disciples to a profound heaven master went to show what a freak he was. They were even more afraid of the mysterious Zhuo Fan than the hardballing Kuei Lang and Yu Ling. Just that Zhuo Fan had no interest in labor office so far, but now had plans to take it for himself. Zhuo Fan sensed their fear. Not to worry, I'm not as cruel as those two, nor will I interfere with your work. I'll only do it if you let me. And thus we come to the good news. I am going to form an elite labor office here, to assist you in your plight. Chapter 566, Top Outer Disciple. Chapter 566, Top Outer Disciple. Elite. Everyone was perplexed. Weren't they the lowest rung in the sect? Were they to be divided again into elites and common laborers? Zhuo Fan ignored the clamor, letting them get it out of their system while also stirring their curiosity. He signaled for attention after a moment. Everyone, this is the labor office, you can't get any lower than this in the sect. Everyone here is punished or cast out, never to see the light of day. The fortunate ones like Kuei Lang and Yu Ling who return to the inner sect or become executives are too few. While the vast majority will live their last days here, fated to find their end as materials for the higher-ups training. You're lower than ants, so how can you hope for survival when death is set in stone? Zhuo Fan's words caught their undivided attention. Yeah, we're only guinea pigs for others, raised for the right moment to take our lives. They were truly poor souls and would be better off dying than live such a wretched life. Sorrow consumed them and some even sobbed in despair. Zhuo Fan hid a grin as he stated, everyone knows I am special since I got here. Without so much as a test, they put me here even though I didn't commit any crime. Why, you ask? Envious of my talent? Zhuo Fan roared, you must have heard of Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's situation. And you've seen with your own eyes what a dark pit the inner sect is. It's those elders and venerables who are envious of talents that landed me in this place from which I can never escape. Even if I do, I will never wash away this stain of being a laborer, always beneath them. Zhuo Fan's rage would not be denied. Kuei Gang flinched and rolled his eyes. He saw with his own eyes how sect leader came to Zhuo Fan for help in this plan. With sect leader's cover, no oldie was going to come for him. Those two were enacting a devious and hidden plot out of the masses' eyes, yet now his master had twisted it into playing the victim. Master sure knows how to spin it. Little did he know that Zhuo Fan was attacking their morale, using the art of war to get them on his side. By living alongside the laborious in the labor office, they related to one another and allowed them listen to his ideas and follow him. Many were filled with grief at Zhuo Fan's speech, recalling their own bitter experiences. Some were trapped and forced here while others were thrown like trash, earning the stigma of being laborious. No matter how they got out, they would still be the targets of ridicule and shame. Labor office's disciples united their hearts with Zhuo Fan's. In their grief and anger, Elder Yuan nodded inside. That's how you rule. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling were bores with their rough tactics. No matter if the others feared them, they saw the two with hatred and denial more than anything. While Steward Zhuo is a smooth operator, all while leading them to their deaths. Ha ha ha, his status as steward on the outside wasn't just for show. Elder Yuan smiled. Since they've dumped me in the labor office, I've decided to take it over and never leave this damn place again. Screw being an executive. They want me to bear a stigma all my life. Humph, I will bear it like a badge of honor. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists. I will make labor office be the greatest place in the sect, its pride so high that any laborer who walks out will go with his head held high under the envy of the rest. From now on, labor office has no waste, but elites. Let those other disciples watch you in jealousy, fighting to get into the labor office no matter how futile their attempts are. Zhuo Fan's speech lit a fire under their asses, but a cold snort came to pour water on their spirits. Just a pipe dream. The sect's resources are fixed, mainly for elites and those elders and venerables. Then come the inner disciples and executives, and lastly outer disciples. As for the labor office, it gets nothing. Even if you divide the labor office, everyone will cultivate based on their talents. Without resources, all your words are worth nothing. Waking up from Zhuo Fan's beautiful dream, everyone felt an overwhelming sadness gripping their hearts. In the end, it's only a dream. The sect won't give us anything to achieve it. It was more like it couldn't grant wastes any resources because there was no point. Even wastrels that end up here with huge backings wouldn't receive much from those oldies because this place was the sect's dumping ground for broken things. Left here to rot. Zhuo Fan's eyes met the young man's cold eyes and the overwhelming despair they hid. His power was at peak profound heaven stage, So close and yet so far from entering Radiant Stage. Who is he? I've never seen him before. Zhuo Fan asked Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan scanned the roster and said, Steward Zhuo, he is Tai Ying, having his shoulder blades run through for peeping on his senior sisters while bathing 3 years ago and has been locked ever since. He just got released and was thrown here. He has yet to hear of your illustrious name. Peeping in the girl's bath. That's nothing. And you can see it from his eyes, he isn't someone to lower himself by doing such crass acts. Zhuo Fan said. Elder Yuan scratched his head. I do not know the whole story. All I know is that he peeped on 7th Elder's granddaughter. Granddaughter? Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan mocked. Kid, who played you? Tai Ying's face was a mask of rage and hatred. You're something to see through my sentence with one look. Hey, of course, commoners can't compete with the wealthy as the wealthy can't compete with officials. Anyone with a brain can see peeping isn't a death sentence. That only leaves falling for someone's trap. Ha ha ha, the wealthy can't compete with the officials. Good one. Even the people from Labor Office understand it. But then why did no elder or venerable want to hear my explanation? Tai Ying was crestfallen. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, reprimanding, dumbass, since they want to bury you, they'll never give you any chance to escape. Who do you think you are? If someone wants to deal with you, he's not going to let you talk back and shame him. Tai Ying's eyelid twitched and he sighed. He knew it as well, but he was angry for justice and fairness, no matter how hopeless it was. But then he pointed at Zhuo Fan. Boy, you just spoke a pack of lies with your speech, to control Labor Office and take even those scraps from them. Every boss of Labor Office has done this and you're no different, even if weaker. So what is an 8th layer of profound heaven cultivator doing, showing off in the Labor Office? Tai Ying's challenge only earned looks of pity from everyone. Newbie, even in the profound heaven stage, he can wipe the floor with Radiant Stage experts. Or do you think you're a much better fit as the Labor Office's boss? Zhuo Fan frowned, then smiled, pointing at his disciple. Boy, do you not see that my disciples are in the Radiant Stage? Am I not worthy of ruling the Labor Office? Humph, Radiant Stage experts having a profound heaven master is the biggest joke I've ever heard. Tai Ying squinted and spat. I bet you're some oldie's son, in here for some crime and dumped here with bodyguards. I've seen it before. Humph, using connections. Tai Ying snorted, filled with mockery. Zhuo Fan shook his head. He must have been had by a wastrel to feel such rancour and must despise any wastrel he sees. But his mockery got cut short by a reverberating shout. Since when did the great top outer disciple Tai Ying get reduced to being petty and nitpicking? You're nothing but a nagging hag. Chapter 567, Grand Elder's Vision. Chapter 567, Grand Elder's Vision. Shuddering, Tai Ying turned his stiff neck only to falter back at the familiar face. Gui Hu. Tai Ying, Kue Gang, and Yue cried at once. While Tai Ying looked positively shocked, the other two had a mixed reaction. Now even the great top inner disciple had shown up at the Labor Office. Zhuo Fan asked, You know each other? He sized Gui Hu up and his eyes lit up. 7th layer of Radiant Stage. Just what did he do to get sent here? Did his master just let him go? Master, have you forgotten how you blew him off at the last inner competition in one sweep? He is Grand Elder's prized pupil, best inner disciple Gui Hu. Kue Gang nodded, learning Gui Hu's situation from his father and Yue from Yu Ling. Zhuo Fan paused, then nodded. Oh, him. But his savagery was quite heavy then, unlike now. He must have made great headway in his mentality and heart. Master, you even forgot an expert like him? Kue Gang sighed. Zhuo Fan shrugged. I never even took him into account when I just gave the broom a whirl. Or am I supposed to remember every ant that steps under my shoe? Awesome, Master. Kue Gang and Yue chuckled while Gui, who was a top expert to them, Zhuo Fan saw him as an ant. This is the gap. Gui, who picked up on the situation from Zhuo Fan's face and lamented having held no impression on this monster, he never even registered my presence from how weak I was. While Tai Ying was shell-shocked and incredulous, Gui Hu, what are you doing here? Yeah, you should be well on your way as an elite. Zhuo Fan gave Elder Yuan a curious glance. Elder Yuan inspected the roster and found the answer. Steward Zhuo, Gui Hu has been here for 2 days. They say he stole a pill and Grand Elder banished him in rage. Steal. The best inner disciple to become elite, having everything handed to him, stole? Zhuo Fan eyed him longer. You came for me, didn't you? Gui, who hid his shock, then gave a slow nod. Tai Ying shed his shock in favor of a moronic look. Ah, so you came for revenge. But what kind of grudge must have pushed you so far as to fall so low to pursue it? No matter how much of a dump the labor office was, it was under the sect's protection for Gui, who to kill a laborer, he could only do it by lowering down to his target's level, since the sect's rules forbade hurting anyone lower than him. But the price was inconceivable and even stirred up doubt in Tai Ying. Buzz off. Who are you calling a moron? Gui, who rebutted, then stared at Zhuo Fan hard as he recalled his master's words. You are the product of your environment. I am not adept in the matters of the heart, while Impermanence 5's mentality evolved so much thanks to being around High Venerable, which made their domain a murder weapon. If you seek to go further on your path, walk by the kid's side. As for being some laborer, ha ha ha, High Venerable has a saying I most approve of: the strong are everywhere. The path you tread is your own, not the sect paving it for you. Master's guidance rang in Gui, whose ears, and he shouted, Zhuo Fan, I wish to follow you. Why? Train my heart. Gui, who was blunt. Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile. Come right over. Wait, Master. Kuei Gang said, Grand Elder cherishes his disciple, and if he is letting him come here, it must be with a twisted plan in mind. Moreover, won't it affect the grand design of yours and the sect leader? Zhuo Fan snickered. Runt, your caution is ill-placed here. We have only just begun, and there's no way for those oldies in the inner sect to catch wind of anything. Don't you find sending their disciple just to probe me so soon a waste? More than anything, his eyes are friendly. He is definitely here to train and nothing more. Ha ha ha, I feel the same. Gui, who is too pig-headed and impulsive to be a good spy. Even if his master gave him such a task, it will butt heads with his nature. But I feel the sincerity in his eyes in wishing to learn. Elder Yuan sighed. How rare, some youths are willing to brave anything to walk their path. Grand Elder is a true visionary to know what his disciple needs the most. Ha ha ha. Kuei Gang shrugged at Zhuo Fan and Elder Yuan's attitudes while Tai Ying's mind was out of commission. He grabbed Gui, who, senior brother Gui, who, you're telling me that you want to follow him? You're the greatest in the inner sect, yet you're fawning over a wastrel? Have you lost all dignity over just one failure? You know nothing, but I'll humor you. That man right there on the stage made me feel powerless. Among this entire labor office, I will follow only him. Gui, who snorted. Tai Ying watched him go with a shocked look. What the hell is going on here? Since when was profound heaven stage cultivation amazing? Zhuo Fan's enticing voice once again drew attention. People, Brother Tai Ying raised a valid question that I am going to answer right now. The resources are not a problem, they will come from me. Don't believe me? Take a closer look at my disciples. Zhuo Fan pointed at Yue and Kuei Gang, who stepped forth to reveal their gaudy trinkets. Everyone's eyes reddened, picking up on the thick spiritual energy wafting from them. No matter how many rumors they heard, seeing them all dolled up had their blood boiling. Tai Ying couldn't think straight. For the love of God, 2 disciples armed to the teeth in 8th and 9th grade demonic treasures is unheard of. Even among venerables and elders. Since when did the labor office become a club for high rollers? Fellow brothers, these children challenged inner disciples and yet came back alive and well. Why? Because what I offer, the elites can't top. Stick with me and you're set for life. All of you who wish to follow me, shout out my name, Steward Zhuo. Steward Zhuo Tilda. He incited the crowd and they replied in kind, filled with hope and desire, as if he was their deliverer. A messiah. Zhuo Fan flicked his hand and the hubbub grounded to a halt. Zhuo Fan turned heavy in his shout. In order to follow me, there are some conditions: to thirst for strength. I have no need for loafers. Through a trial I'll soon set up in the labor office, I will test each and every one of you if you're worthy to join the elite labor office and deserving of my endless resources. I promise you that those who pass will become elders or venerables. You will no longer have to join the Azura Circle. And as for those who fail, sorry, but you'll remain as simple laborers waiting for death in the Azura Circle. Whoosh. The shouting that was mounting faltered as the crowd turned silent. Wait, We still have to pass a test. I haven't cultivated in weeks. Zhuo Fan hammered it in. If you are so afraid to even take this step to become strong, to join me, then you deserve your fate as ants. You don't have the drive to thirst for power, you are weak. This reverse psychology worked its magic like a charm with a mix of encouragement and insults. Many were driven, their spirits burned with a fire never seen for years as they stormed Zhuo Fan. Tai Ying felt the crowd move past him, then his eyes steeled for going with them. Let's see what a profound heaven cultivator has that can make so many fall for his words. For even the greatest inner disciple Gui who to follow him, they followed Zhuo Fan behind the mountain, to the cemetery where he shouted and made a sign, Heaven Earth Profound Yellow. 4 direction gates open. Chapter 568, Heaven Earth Profound Yellow. Chapter 568, Heaven Earth Profound Yellow. Rumble tilde. The ceaseless rumbling accompanied the appearance of 4 doors merging into reality, with each having a different word etched on the top. Heaven, Earth, Profound and Yellow. Zhuo Fan passed by each of them. Each door is a sealed array and also your test. Between heaven and earth, heaven and man combine to form body, mind and soul. It changes and mutates into endless variations. Each of the arrays here is made of a blend of 3 types, trapping, killing and bewildering, an ever-shifting space. You simply need to pass any one of these tests and you will become an elite in the labor office and will be absolved from the suffering of a Jura circle. You mean they're all the same? Why 4 then? Tai Ying asked. Puzzled. Zhuo Fan smiled. Good question. Making all 4 doors the same would have been a pointless act. The yellow door is the simplest. With heaven, earth, profound and yellow targeting different aspects, the difficulty rises from yellow to heaven. Just like how there's outer disciples, inner disciples, and elites. They're arrays of 5th grade and 6th grade, with the heaven door being a 7th grade array. SSS tilde. Everyone gasped, even Tai Ying had a perpetual frown. Outstanding. Labor office has someone that can set up 7th grade arrays. Everyone knew any array below 7th grade was moot for ethereal stage, meaning even ethereal stage experts had to take some time in breaking a 7th grade array. And this was a cultivation the elders and venerables had, yet this guy has set it up just to test disciples. Zhuo Fan beamed. The 4 doors target different aspects. As you can see, I'm not here to test your strength but potential. Since you just have to stick with me for a bit and strength would come by itself. Tai Ying had to admit, he had started to admire Zhuo Fan, even if just a bit moving past his integrity, just the fact that he had done more than those oldies ever could spoke volumes. With the labor office being dirt poor, testing these people like the outer and inner disciples was not possible, though no one could guarantee that giving the same treatment to these people would result in breaking their limits through dozens of trials to become better than outer disciples, hence, the test for potential. While those oldies were fixated on strength alone when it came to the competitions, foregoing the potential of the disciples. To say nothing of the buried talents dumped in the labor office, or more like they didn't care, only looking to get a firm grip on their power while doing as little as possible. And since the labor office could join the grand competition where outer and inner disciples would participate, they would threaten the oldies' gains, so they always pushed on the labor office, wasting it into the ground to strengthen their authority. But this one man before them wanted to unearth the rough and glittering gold within and challenge those oldies by taking food from right under their noses. Tai Ying squinted. This will all blow up in smokes without someone backing this single disciple, no matter how strong this guy is. He alone can't take on the inner sect. Someone's out to change the status quo in the sect. And this guy is his right hand, stirring up chaos in the labor office. Great! Tai Ying shouted in excitement that got the others' attention. What's up with him? Zhuo Fan had an odd look. Did he lose it? Tai Ying walked over with steady steps before Zhuo Fan. I know your plan and I'll join. It's high time for the demon scheming sect to change. You have to prove yourself to me first. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. We have a thinker in our midst, one that is fueled by rage and hatred for what those oldies did to him. Tai Ying pointed at the earth door. Before I do, answer me this. Will you take me with you once I come out of it? I will. But I must warn you, there's a killing array inside. Having been locked up for 3 years, your strength must have waned. For your sake, choose the profound door. Zhuo Fan gave a friendly reminder. Everyone was tense. "We can die in there." All faltered back. Tai Ying couldn't care less, laughing, "Live as geniuses or die as heroes. I'd rather die than not live my life to the fullest." Tai Ying was the first to enter the earth door. It followed with loud rumbling coming from within, rattling the fear in the people's hearts and making them shrink back even further. "The kid has a nice personality and will achieve great things." Elder Yuan rubbed his beard. Shuafan smiled. "Those oldies' trash is another man's gold. But let's wait after he comes out alive and not jump the gun." "Master, didn't we come out of that 7th grade array? This array is only 6th grade. How hard can it be?" Kuei Gang asked. Shuafan mocked. "Those arrays you used were designed for your cultivation. 7th grade but far weaker. While the earth door has trapping, killing and bewildering arrays blending together to achieve a multiplicative effect. You're welcome to try the heaven door if you don't believe me. I promise you there'll be nothing left of you." I'd rather not." Kuei Gang faltered and looked bitterly at Yua. Yua only smiled. Whoosh. A dark figure shot inside the heaven door before anyone took notice. Terrible grating sounds followed that shook the nerves of the people to their core. "Who the hell is so suicidal to take on the hardest door?" Someone shouted. Shuafan eyed the gate and muttered, "Gui who? Ha ha ha, he is Grand Elder's disciple, of great talent and immense ability. Now that he's in the labor office, he's on our side." Elder Yuan praised. Shuafan nodded. "He is bold and capable. I'd train him even without you needing to point it out. Though I can't say if he'll stick with me or go back to Grand Elder in the end. Anyway, all of this is for Double Dragon Gathering. Ha ha ha, yeah, the bigger picture." Elder Yuan nodded. Everyone else entered a period of waiting as the heaven and earth doors rumbled on, and with each sound, crumbled their bravery. They were waiting to see their fate. If not even the top inner and outer disciples could survive, they stood no chance at all. Boom tilde. Booming sounds and sharp energies flew all around in the pensive silence for 6 hours. There'd been no sign of movement from within. The other disciples' hearts were stuck in their throats. Elite labor office is fine and all, but it's too deadly. At dawn break, with the 2 disciples still within the arrays, the rest fell into despair. Crack. The sound of slow steps coming from the heaven door announced someone's arrival. It was faint and weary, revealing Gui, who as he approached he was gasping and exhausted, on the verge of collapse. The others cried out, "Just what's in there to make a 7th layer of radiant stage expert so wretched? He's on the point of dying." Followed by a louder sound, a bloody figure came out from the earth door, but his eyes flashed with savagery. One could practically hear hearts dropping, some opting to leave in sorrow rather than brave such deadly trials. Seeing their spirits crushed, their bravery fall flat and their courage going limp, Shuafan declared, "Gui, who has passed the heaven door and received a 7th grade demonic treasure and 4 7th grade pills. Tai Ying passed the earth door and received a 6th grade demonic treasure and 3 6th grade pills." Yua and Kuei Gang presented their rewards. Yua all looked flabbergasted at the glittering items. Chapter 569, Unstoppable. Chapter 569, Unstoppable. The spiritual energy-packed pills and dazzling demonic treasures glittered in the eyes of the greedy and envious Gui, who and Tai Ying held their heavy rewards with a dull look. The first thing they received on coming out was the most astonishing reward. Gui, who held an icy demon broadsword, while Tai Ying received a jade and golden weaved gloves. 7th grade demonic treasure, soul-sucking demon blade, and 6th grade demonic treasure, heaven-rending cloud gloves. Shuafan pointed out, "Oh, forgot to mention. Besides entering the elite labor office and enjoying my many resources, you also get a reward. 7th grade demonic treasure and 4 7th grade pills for the heaven door. 6th grade demonic treasure and 3 6th grade pills for the earth door. A 5th grade demonic treasure and 2 5th grade pills for the profound door. A 4th grade demonic treasure and 1 4th grade pill for the yellow door." The audience was too dazed to react in excitement. From being filled with fear, they were now filled with desire. Shuafan grinned and pointed behind him. "There are few turning points in one's life. Whether you grasp it and soar, become a dragon among ants, it will all be up to you to roar." The red-eyed mob took to the doors like an assault, all lusting for shiny rewards in detriment of their lives and the dangers they would face. Losing all reason, the really crazy ones jumped into the heaven door, utterly suicidal. What hope could they possibly have? Yet a few dozen people who still had a little mind to care about their lives decided to leave, and Zhuo Fan did not stop them by any means. Greed is good, but don't lose your mind over it. Such reckless desire will only bring them death, sooner rather than later. In a jiffy, howls and wails adorned the morning sky above the heaven and earth doors. Their fates were sealed once everyone got in. Gui, who glanced at his blade and gave it back, I know your words were just to entice them. Now that they believe it, here, take it back. They were to entice them, yes, but were also real. This is your reward for clearing the heaven door. Keep it if you want to be an elite laborer. You'll need it. Zhuo Fan said. Gui, who said, but, it's too much. How so? It's only a small reward. I am no poor fellow. Zhuo Fan chuckled. Yue and Kuei Gang smiled. Master is well off. If you don't want it, he'll just give it to someone else. Say what? Gui, who sized Zhuo Fan up with shining eyes. Tai Ying blinked incredulously as well. Here they thought Zhuo Fan was playing a role to get his name higher in the labor office and get those cowering laborists to assault heaven and earth doors with a little incentive, only to find the guy really did hand over those rewards I told you. Upon joining the elite labor office, you will receive plenty of resources, all from me. Now then, you too, Tai Ying in particular, you don't have to worry about the sect's political struggles while you are in the labor office. We do not rely on the sect, only on me. Tai Ying's heart shook. He took Zhuo Fan for another man's pawn in some big shot's plan. These great demonic treasures and pills had to have come from someone with a really high-up backing, but it was all in his head. The guy is a moneybag. He wants to make his own faction hidden from the sect's eyes. Don't all disciples come to sects for resources? Why stick to the sect when he's the one giving them out? Tai Ying grew thrilled. Even being sent to this rotten garbage dump, he still found a way out. Brother Zhuo, what might we call you? Tai Ying cupped his hands as he ventured. Zhuo Fan pondered. I've been the steward of my clan before this, and now I'm the steward of the labor office's elites. So just call me Steward Zhuo. Yes, Steward Zhuo. Gui Hu and Tai Ying nodded. Now they waited for the survivors. Minutes and hours ticked by all the way till the sun hung high above in the sky and the birds sang until someone finally came out. Tilda. Weary and shaky people wobbled out of the door, all covered with wounds. Zhuo Fan eyed his disciples and they responded in kind, by stepping forth with the rewards. At the sight of all those pills and demonic treasures, the weary trial takers stood up like their wounds were nothing, touched to the core. They never thought they'd ever see such a thing again after being thrown in the labor office for years and years. I'm so touched. Even death would have been worth it. As more and more came out, Kuei Gang and Yue gave them their rewards and their cheers grew in number. Zhuo Fan did a head count once everyone was out and found only 50 missing. Probably dead. Not that anyone cared when they all looked after themselves first and foremost. Oh, and the massive reward, one shouldn't forget that if the reward had come later, they'd lament and take a moment for their fellow brothers who had died in the cruel trials. But now they had bigger and shinier things to worry about. Zhuo Fan swept the crowd with a critical eye. While you rushed in, some disciples left, aware of their limitations and frail hearts. Their future will forever be average, or some might return here never to come out, who knows. But to you, congratulations. You are now elite laborers and will receive everything you need from me. Steward Zhuo, Steward Zhuo. The roars and pumped fists spoke volumes of their excitement, especially now, holding their rewards and thrilled by the gains. Zhuo Fan had filled them with a drive this hellhole had sucked out of them for so many years, bringing the glimmer of hope in their pits of despair. He had practically become an existence higher than their parent. A gesture brought silence back, but the fire in their eyes burned hotter still. Zhuo Fan grinned. Most of you entered the yellow gate, with a rare few taking the profound one. Just how the doors are different, so are the rewards. If you want another door's treasure, then do your best and cultivate. Take on the next door and I will give you the same reward your neighbor got. Roar. Zhuo Fan's words added more fuel to the burning pyre. All the pressure and desolation they had gone through these years was at this moment shed off in their excitement. This power had brought the labor office a chance to shine. Elder Yuan nodded with a smile. Labor office got swept up by a sudden cultivation frenzy, with all laborists using their off-duty time to grow stronger rather than mess around, because they now had a goal, to brave the next gate and gain more stuff. As for those too shy to try the doors, They were regretting missing such a chance even as they didn't slack off on their training, since Azura Circle only took those who were the weakest, no matter how cruel it was. As long as no one was beneath you, you were dead. Just going through the days like a lifeless husk would achieve the same result, but Shuafan's elite labor office offered tests, offering all of them chances to enter it and wrest back their lives. Their only enemy was themselves. As for those petty tricks, that was easier to deal with. Harming another was harming oneself, and the time would be much better used on cultivating it comforted Elder Yuan greatly, seeing all of them focused on cultivation, since all their efforts were for themselves while nitpicking about others' weaknesses was in fact avoiding one's own, and this frenzy got so big, it infected the outer sect. Chapter 570, Flaunting. Chapter 570, Flaunting. Rustle tilde. It was the sound coming from a girl in a poor garb swinging a broom in a courtyard like one did with a sword. The courtyard was spotless. In an instant the girl made sure no corner was cut and gave a sweet smile as she rushed away. Done so soon? A lady in green appeared in the courtyard and called out to the girl, "You've been in a rush as of late. What's the hurry?" The girl giggled, "Ha ha ha, senior sister, I'm cultivating." Cultivate? Lady in green was taken aback, then mocked, "Ha ha ha, you?" The girl's mood sank and anger bubbled inside her. Just then, a lady in purple rushed in, taking in the tense mood. "Junior sister, why are you laughing?" "Senior sister, she said she's rushing back to cultivate, ha ha ha. Isn't it funny?" The lady in green held her stomach and laughed away. The one in purple eyed the girl, then cracked up, "Girl, you're a laborer yet you want to cultivate. Learn to enjoy life a little. Don't miss out on your best years. What's wrong with being a laborer? I've passed the test and now I'm an elite laborer." The girl huffed and stuck out her quite modest chest. The two laughed harder. "What elite? You're just a no-good laborer." She must have lost it being in the labor office for all this time. Once a laborer, always a cripple, yet still trying to cultivate. Does she think of herself as a phoenix rising from the ashes? Hi. Junior sister, this girl must have a screw loose. Just ignore her. The lady in purple jeered, then took out a jade sword with smugness. "Elder Huang just gave me this third-grade demonic treasure. What do you think?" "Wow, third-grade demonic treasure?" The other looked in envy. "With so many outer disciples, getting one is so hard. Tell me, what deal did you struck with Elder Huang?" The purple lady blushed and cursed, "Hey, I earned it with my talent. He'll take me as a disciple once I enter the inner sect." "Really?" The green lady had starry eyes. The purple lady blushed harder, but still stuck out her mighty fine chest. "Of course. What else is there?" "Skank." A huff entered their ears. The two looked back at the mocking laborer and snapped, "What the hell did you just say?" "Skank. That's what selling yourself for a measly third-grade demonic treasure would get you." The girl's honesty was devastating. The two of them were fuming mad. "Humph, ignorant servant. I bet you've never seen a third-grade demonic treasure in your life." Whoosh tilde. She ended up choking from the dazzling light show coming from the girl's blade revealed in all its glory. The sharp edge and its thick spiritual energy snuffed the purple lady's treasure's aura like a candle. A fourth-grade demonic treasure. The purple lady was tongue-tied. The green lady was dumbfounded as well, rooted in place with an empty head. Only the girl wiped the shiny edge of the blade with her poor garb with pride. The two outer disciples cried out, Did you just steal a fourth-grade demonic treasure? Idiot, if it were that easy, you think your senior sister would have sold herself over a measly third-grade demonic treasure?" The girl kept her insults going while waving her blade around. "Almost all elite laborers have at least one of these by now. I'm still too weak to get a better weapon. Some senior brothers even have 5th, 6th, or 7th grade. That's why I've got to work hard to get Steward Zhuo's reward. I don't have time to waste on something as insipid as cleaning, or you." The girl left in a hurry and swaggered off with her big blade. The two ladies were too stunned to react when they did. They were overwhelmed. "Elite labor office? What's that, a place to train elite disciples?" The green lady asked. The purple lady shook her head to gain some semblance of reasoning back. "I've never even heard of it. Or there wouldn't be a labor office at the end. Where else is one supposed to get a fourth-grade demonic treasure when not even inner disciples can get one? Just hand one to a laborer? Yeah, just what place is that?" The purple lady pondered, then grew anxious. Junior sister, isn't that rumor going around for a couple days now? The one saying that the Labor Office has a huge expert who has 2 disciples that crushed elite candidates in the inner competition. Yet even then, his disciples came back to the Labor Office. Is the elite Labor Office where the expert stays? The Green Lady nodded. Maybe, but let's look into it to make sure. If he likes senior sister, then we'll strike gold. Didn't you hear that, girl? There are 6th and 7th grade goodies as well. Yeah, let's go. The Purple Lady nodded and off they went to their destination. Labor Office. Similar cases popped up in many corners of the sect, all freakish. The despised Laborus made a comeback the likes of which the entire sect had never seen, as they flaunted their stuff. Showing off one's bling wasn't exactly a skill, but it had its uses, to make the inner and outer disciples' eyes go red. What took the cake was their statement, "We're from the elite Labor Office, and all the wealth comes from our patron." With red eyes and thumping hearts, the disciples from all over the sect converged on the Labor Office to uncover the mystical identity of the superboss. If they got a reward while they were at it, even better. Being so liberal with some stinking Laborus must mean he'll be quite generous to the rest. All those disciples arrived with excitement, only to be barred at the gates. The shabby fence of the Labor Office had a notice sign in front, Elite Labor Office, with Yua and Kuei Gang standing on each side of it. Their radiant stage aura was obvious enough, but so were their high-grade demonic treasures, blinding these disciples enticed by easy money. Oh hell, the boss has to be in. His disciples are out front. More and more disciples flocked in, begging to see Zhua Fan, yet Kuei Gang and Yua never relented. Kuei Gang shouted, "Hold it. This is the Elite Labor Office where the master is resting. Who dares to disturb him?" Whoosh tilde. His shout rang heavy in the crowd's ears, his aura pushing them all back. Yeah, a place is known for its local big shots, not the terrain. Just what kind of big boss came here to make it have such paramount importance? Anyone could come and go as they wanted to in the past. While now, there were 2 radiant stage experts acting as guards. Senior sister, senior brother, could we just have a peek at the expert? Some of them rubbed their hands. Yua and Kuei Gang had an insidious grin. Of course you can, but he is the steward of the Elite Labor Office and only sees Laborus. You may see him at your leisure when you become one. Say what? Become a Laborer to see him? That was too steep a price. Everyone frowned and they were all conflicted. Tai Ying and Gui, who carried 2 bruised and wounded Laborus to the pair, one passed the profound door, the other passed the earth one. Hey! Someone passed the earth door like you, senior brother Tai Ying? Are you sure he's not a cheat? Kuei Gang raised an eyebrow. Tai Ying chuckled, who can cheat with me around? The earth door isn't too hard though. I ended up like that because I've just gotten out of chains and was quite weak. Otherwise I would have barely gotten hurt. Well, Master did put you 2 to supervise the doors, so we believe you. Kuei Gang chuckled and took out a 5th grade and a 6th grade demonic treasure. The crowd's eyes popped out. Tai Ying looked at them with envy. So many blessings upon Steward Shua's disciples. He even has you holding all of them. This. Master gave us 8th and 9th grade demonic treasures, and you think we care about some baubles? Ever since we paid respects to our master, our horizon has broadened and we no longer find these trinkets valuable. I even have 30 of them in my ring, waiting for the others to pass the earth door. Kuei Gang shrugged. The inner and outer disciples still around were shaking like leaves. The big shot is loaded and is so generous too. It might even be worth it to become a Laborer. We would get far better treatment in here than in the inner sect or elite area. The hearts of these disciples thrummed with desire. Chapter 571, Inner Sect Quakes. Chapter 571, Inner Sect Quakes. It's insane. They've all gone crazy. Venerable Sha was enjoying the cooling breeze in his courtyard, so peaceful, so quiet. Then a shriek broke his relaxation. It was the second elder, all enraged and panting. What's up with the perv? He's always indulging himself whenever he gets the chance, so why is he so peeved? Venerable Sha raised a mocking eyebrow. Second elder, what has gotten you so testy? Venerable Sha, I'm not angry at you, it's this darn situation. Second elder gesticulated, finding it hard to quell his rage. Those hussies of mine have asked me to let them go to the Labor Office. You tell me if it warrants anger or not. And to think that I made an exception when taking them in to help them become inner disciples, yet now they've just left me. Labor office? Venerable Sha squinted. Have they lost it? No matter how lustful and whiny you are, neither is bad enough to choose the labor office over you. Are they just throwing a tantrum? No, Venerable Sha, in fact, the labor office. They've all gone mental. Another person rushed over and shouted his indignation. They watched a tall and buff man roaring. Venerable Sha was even more perplexed now. Seventh Elder, what happened to you? What else? It's that damn labor office. Seventh Elder was blowing a gasket. Second Elder had found his soul mate in plight and asked him, your disciples came crying to send them to labor office as well? Come crying? That would have been way better. Seventh Elder flicked his sleeve. Those brats are demanding it. They all want to go to the labor office, and what about me? How can I be a respected member of the elder community without proper disciples? Of course I refused, but those brats stole my pills and ruined my home. They were doing all kinds of crimes, one bigger than the last. Now I have locked them up, to reflect. I'm outraged. Venerable Sha listened to their rants and grew unsettled by the second. What on earth happened? Why have inner disciples flipped with no rhyme or reason? Venerable Sha, you still don't know? The two sighed and the second elder explained, labor office has an aberration, throwing out pills and treasures like garbage and even establishing some elite labor office. As long as a laborer passes his tests, they'll get treasures and pills, resources even. They get more stuff than even an elite. The news has made the disciples lose their minds, all coming up with strange plans to get punished and be sent to labor office. This fight is harsher than even in the inner sect competition. Venerable Sha's face fell and he frowned. Labor office again. Sect leader has played his hand, I see, and he played it big. Sect leader? The two cried. Venerable Sha was certain, it must be him, or how else can the labor office without any backbone cough up so many things and upset the sect's peace? Sect leader is planning to use the lower rung to crush the higher ones, to aim for us. You two, convene with the elders and venerables. Let's see just how far is sect leader going to take it. Venerable Sha's eyes flashed and the two cupped their hands. Yes, dang Tilda. The ringing spread across the inner sect and the oldies rushed to the hall. Siawua frowned, walking over as well. The place was packed. Who called for this meeting? Siawua took his rightful seat and demanded an explanation. The copper bell can only be rung in times of great crisis, unless the sect leader does it himself. Have you forgotten, or is the sect in grave peril? Siawua's icy words made everyone shrink and stammer. Venerable Sha stepped forth with a bow. Sect leader, I have rung it. There's an urgent matter in need of your attention. And what might that be? A siege. Siawua raised an eyebrow. Venerable Sha shook his head. Inner chaos is more pressing. The unity of our people will brave any dangers. Demon scheming sect will survive. Which makes this inner trouble a pressing matter. We have to settle it before it affects our safety. What could have happened to be so critical that it would lead to our destruction? Siawua had a savage look staring down at Venerable Sha. Venerable Sha's eyes turned to his fellow oldies. Elders, venerables, how many disciples are exhibiting odd behavior? How many are talking about going to the labor office? I've lost half of my disciples and it won't be long before I have none left. A grizzled old man spoke with pain. Then another one mocked, you fool, just refuse. You're the fool. If I refused, who knows what they'd do, who'd they piss off? I used to scare them with labor office threats, but now they'd accept it on the spot. Yeah, my disciples are going crazy as well, shirking all responsibilities. What am I supposed to do? Labor office is the latest fashion all of a sudden. Everyone is dying to go there. The old-timers devolved into a clamor, a pissing contest for who had it worst. It was a greater havoc than when Monkey King ran amok in heaven. What used to be a drive for the disciples to get into the inner sect had turned 180 degrees, and become a drive to plunge into the labor office, and the blow that hurt the most was labor office being out of these old-timers' control. They would lose all power in a matter of days and wouldn't be able to do anything about it. The disciples no longer gave a damn about them, and this was a crushing blow to their ego. Eyeing the crestfallen veterans, Siawua hid a smirk. This was exactly why he brought Shuafan over, to curb their greedy nature. Give it a few more days and the inner sect will collapse. Venerable Sha turned to Xiaoyue with a bow. Sect leader, do you see? In a state such as this, the environment is no longer suited to promote learning and nurturing. With the entire balance turned upside down, it will soon spread to the entire sect, until the sect is no more. What will you have me do then? Xiaoyue smiled. Venerable Sha bowed. Sect leader, remove that so-called elite labor office's false name and reorganize the labor office. Please, sect leader, reorganize the sect. Uphold the rules. The other oldies echoed. Xiaoyue laughed in their faces. I will uphold the rules indeed. But with the labor office being the lowest rung of the demon scheming sect, it hasn't seen administration in ages, leaving it to run its course. And if a man of great talent were to come out of it, he would be just like High Venerable. It is the only hope for all those criminals, where a great merit will lift them above this wretched station. This is the sect's rule, our rule. Touching the labor office equals relinquishing all that we stand for and our ancestors. Xiaoyue's icy glare drove a shiver down their spines. Going against their ancestral teachings was a heavy crime for them as well. Demons had no ethics, but for their sect, they had to have rules or chaos ruled. Everyone shook their heads at the sect leader's stance. He had no intention of helping them deal with the labor office. In fact, he was against it 100%. They were free to try, but would suffer the consequences. Some elders who were thinking of causing a scene at the labor office perished this thought on the spot. Venerable Sha stood up at Xiaoyue's side, having seen this coming. Only his eyes flashed. Venerable Sha is right about one thing. Everyone aims for a higher standing. If you can't even get a hold of your disciples, how will you go any higher? Ha ha ha. Xiaoyue left with a self-righteous grin, strutting out of the hall and leaving the oldies choking on their words. Chapter 572, Poaching. Chapter 572, Poaching. The sinister laughter echoed among the old-timers who were bearing dark faces, as if a storm clouded their lives. Venerable Sha smiled at them. See, sect leader has made his stance clear. It goes to show that he had a hand in it, all directed at us. Letting this devolve any further will leave us penniless. They all nodded, yet someone asked in doubt, but the flood of resources coming from the labor office to train the disciples isn't stopping. As the sect's resources have to pass through us before being dispatched, how exactly did the sect leader fork out such a huge amount to strike back at us? Venerable Sha pondered and shook his head. It eludes me as well. But one thing remains unchanged, we can't let the labor office's attraction go on. As we don't know the full extent of those resources, no matter how we regulate the sect's resources, it won't affect the labor office. What worries me is that when we are left with no disciples, sect leader will use this as an excuse to take control of our rightful resources. That remark hit right where it hurt them the most, and the old men were wrought by pressure. Taking away their resources was akin to crippling their status in the sect. Sect leader's drastic move is ingenious. Second elder exclaimed. The rest snorted and nodded. Venerable Sha's eyes were constantly moving. Yes, sect leader did use a great move, but can't we do the same and beat him at his own game? What do you mean? Everyone asked with a crafty glint in his eyes. Venerable Sha began. Sect leader has put out this elite labor office as a bait, to draw our disciples in. But as long as we settle our own disciples, it loses its effect. And as the labor office's resource upkeep keeps rising, it will soon run out of fuel and no disciples will approach. It will ruin his plan for good. Let's see who lasts the longest. Brilliant. Seventh elder gave a thumbs up. We'll just play the waiting game and one day it'll run out. And then chaos will follow with him crying, ha ha ha. Seventh elder's laughter echoed in the hall, infecting the others to do the same. If sect leader thinks he can steal our rights, he'll have another thing coming. But then someone said, how do we stop disciples from going to the labor office though? It might work for a short time, but not forever. The startled folks turned to the frowning grand elder. How were they going to handle their disciples? Venerable Sha shook his head, his eyes flashing murder. We set a precedent. If the disciples don't hear reason, we'll kill a couple and they'll all fall in line. Heart sinking, the other oldies looked around awkward. It wasn't that they couldn't, since they were demonic cultivators at their core, but earning such a bad name would make sure they don't get any more disciples. Since you have no disciples, you don't deserve these resources. It all came down to interests, forcing these savage demons into shying from doing the unthinkable. killing their disciples. Venerable Sha sensed their worry and chuckled, I know your fears and can easily deal with them. We just have to do it together so that there will be no difference between who the disciples choose. Is everyone willing to bear this stigma? Heart thumping, they all nodded. With everyone else killing disciples as well, we'll all earn a bad name. Desperate times call for desperate measures. With all of them seen as evil, the disciples would have no choice in the matter. Everyone had a sinister grin spreading on their faces. Brats, your time has come. With all in agreement, it's decided. Go set an example for each of your disciples and shake the rest into compliance. Make some outer sect executives to round some of them up as well. If some elders or venerables do not have disciples to kill, just pick some from there. With everyone having the same reputation, an escape wouldn't exist. And any that fails to do it will earn the wrath of the entire inner sect. Venerable Sha eyed each of them with a cold eye. Everyone nodded. Venerable Sha turned around. Venerable Chi, Venerable Bai, we may have had our differences, but we are up against a common enemy, sect leader. I hope you will join the fight for the greater good. If the inner sect collapses, so too will your interests. The two sighed and nodded. Venerable Sha beamed. With all oldies of the inner sect of one mind, Xiaoyu's plan had no chance. More than half of the sect's power was held by elders and venerables. After setting up the details, they each went their merry way with a glint in their eyes and out for their disciples' blood. Whoever ran for the labor office will die. Grand Elder was about to go as well when Venerable Sha said, Grand Elder, please wait. Grand Elder turned to Venerable Sha's smile, I heard you've cast out your prized disciple into the labor office. Why? He violated the rules and therefore he was sent there. Grand Elder said. Venerable Sha shook his head, ha ha ha, Grand Elder, do you not trust me? With Gui who being your pride and glory, no matter how vile the act was, you'd still not send him there. Moreover, after a couple of days of you sending him there, the elite labor office appeared. Venerable Sha has made a thorough investigation. Ha ha ha, Grand Elder chuckled, fine, I'll tell you. When Gui who lost to Zhuo Fan and that girl asked to return to the labor office, it raised my suspicions. So I sent Gui who earlier as a spy. The sooner I know about what's going on, the easier it is to strike. Venerable Sha was stunned and praised the Grand Elder. Grand Elder's vision is so wide and selfless. Even sending your prized pupil as a spy. Ha ha ha, it's nothing. Others weren't suitable and I could only send Gui who. It pains me even now to think about it. Grand Elder waved his hand, then, Venerable Sha, I'll be going. Please. Venerable Sha smiled, if you need anything, just ask. Grand Elder smiled and left. Venerable Sha failed to catch the subtle shift in his expressions, a heavy mood, nor did the Grand Elder see Venerable Sha's suspicion. As both parties were in doubt, neither revealed their treachery to the other. Meanwhile, Venerable Qi and Venerable Bai returned to Venerable Bai's home to discuss. No matter the regrets of dirtying their hands with their pupil's blood, they had no choice in the matter. Everyone was going to bear this cross and so should they if they wanted to live on in this sect. Yet just as they entered the house, Yu Ling and Kuei Lang came bowing. Greetings, Master. Is something the matter? Venerable Bai asked. Yu Ling reported, Master, Steward Zhuo has paid a visit. Steward Zhuo? Who's that? The steward of the elite labor office, Zhuo Fan. Kuei Lang bowed. The venerables tensed. The mastermind behind all this mess, the boss of the elite labor office, just came knocking? Since he is the sect leader's right hand in this plot, he must represent the sect leader. Venerable Bai sighed, no gift is ever free. For him to represent sect leader, it means sect leader wants us on his side. But who should we choose, sect leader or the inner sect? Venerable Qi frowned in deep thought. Chapter 573, Negotiations. Chapter 573, Negotiations. Steward Zhuo, forgive me for not showing you in. Entering the lounge, Venerable Bai saw a youth with white hair sitting there, the one and only laborer that shook Gui Hu to the core in one blow, and bowed. Venerable Qi cupped his hands as well, but more for his status than Zhuo Fan himself. Zhuo Fan waved them, Venerable Qi and Venerable Bai, I presume. You're too kind in your favor for little old me. I am but a laborer, how could I possibly have venerables show me such courtesy? Steward Zhuo, No true ruler is without capable men. With Steward Zhuo making the labor office a hot commodity, respect is more than deserved. Venerable Qi smiled. Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile as he got down to it. Since venerables have already guessed that I work for the sect leader, then you must have also guessed the purpose of my visit. The two paused and Venerable Bai sighed. We understand sect leader's design, but not his actions. We are venerables, giving our all for the sect and not tangling with unnecessary squabbles. I mean, we are part of the inner sect and cannot follow the sect leader's request. Venerable Qi sighed, putting on a pained face. Zhuo Fan figured as much since the start and smiled. The elder and venerable meeting had long since finished, yet everyone stayed behind even as the sect leader left. Did you perhaps come up with a secret plan? The venerables shook their heads in unison, no comment. I can pretty much guess anyway. Uniting the entire inner sect in the face of this adversity. Zhuo Fan snickered and eyed the wooden venerables. But did you ever wonder what you'd do afterwards? The venerable's brow shook. Zhuo Fan knew he had them and drove in for the kill with a shout. Kuei Lang, Yu Ling, your masters have asked for you. The venerables eyed him suspiciously. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling came bowing. What can we do for you, master? Nothing much. They've been bored as of late and wanted to know about your life over the past decade in the labor office. Zhuo Fan cut in. The four were stumped about his point. But since the venerables stayed silent, the two acquiesced to Zhuo Fan's request. How despised they were, how they grew accustomed to the mean looks, the fighting in the labor office, the many brushes with death, and the blood and sweat they shed to work their way to the top of the labor office. As the story came to a close, the two's eyes went red, reliving those moments of pain. Yet the venerables hadn't even flinched. Are you done? Venerable Bai asked. Steward Zhuo, what is this? You don't feel it? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. The venerables shook their heads. Venerable Qi chuckled. Steward Zhuo, you're too green. The path of demonic cultivators is wrought with pain and injustice. Labor office is just a phase in their long tempering. Did you think we'd be sad over our disciples' pain and loss? Hey, how is that a demonic cultivator? Was this what I had you feel? Zhuo Fan shrugged. What I meant was, who was the catalyst to their bitterness? Who was it that laughed in their face? It matters not that they were ridiculed, but who did the ridiculing in the end? Shaking, the venerables caught on at last. Zhuo Fan grinned. They were framed, but that's their own stupidity to blame. Yet the culprit did it with blatant disregard of their masters, you. And why did you work so hard to have the two back under you? Wasn't it because you had no one else under you to use after they were sacked? Oh, the horror. Disciples are of little value, yes, but you two just laid there getting bitch-slapped and didn't even twitch. I, for one, take my hat off. I sure as hell couldn't accept it. Touching my disciples is raising their hands at me. Venerable Qi said just now that I am green. Ha ha ha, true, I am still very much green. Many things I can't stand, even being called a bastard. Enough. Venerable Bai snapped in anger. Zhuo Fan, I am showing respect to you out of kindness to the sect leader. Don't push it. Did I? Have I slapped Venerable's faces? Zhuo Fan snickered. That guy bitch-slapped you for decades and yet you still want to be his errand boys. While I haven't been in the sect for long and cared for your dear disciples, yet you want to make me the enemy while keeping him as your ally. Who's the excessive one here and who's despicable? The two glared as their fists tensed and their beards shook. They soon had had enough. Zhuo Fan, enough of your taunts. All the elders and venerables of the inner sect are in this together. We rise and fall as one. Go back and tell the sect leader, thank you, but no thank you. Now don't be too hasty. Aren't you all fighting to get the same thing, resources? But did you ever wonder that once all this blows over, if they'll get the pie while you get the scraps? When the inner sect is finished, we won't even have the scrap. Venerable Bai was finally honest. Zhuo Fan smiled, having got what he wanted. I can give you what you want. Since the inner sect has no scraps, you are welcome to join the labor office to revel in a juicy pie. What? The two shouted their disbelief in unison. Zhuo Fan said, to be totally honest, the labor office is overcrowded and needs elders or venerable supervision. If sirs find it appropriate, you are welcome to the labor office to take over. In plain words, Sect leader wants elite labor office to become the new inner sect for raising elites. Even with how deep-rooted inner sect is, it'll only be a matter of time before it's empty. Venerable Sure is in control of the inner sect. He gets the pie and you get the scraps. But by coming to the labor office now, you'll get the pie and he won't even get to touch the scraps. You do not have to stick with them. Come now and enjoy the most, or later and you get nothing. Their eyes twitching, the venerables' hearts shook. Sect leader wants a new inner sect. But the elite labor office is too fresh and who knows how long it'll last. The danger is high. Zhuo Fan pierced their doubts with his sharp eye and revealed 2 vials. The 2 gasped at the thick miasma, even felt their blood flowing smoother. 10th grade pill? The heaven-reaching pill to be exact. Just a little token. Zhuo Fan smiled. If you still find it suspicious, you're welcome to get more people to join. For every elder or venerable coming to the labor office, I'll offer an 8th grade pill. 8th grade? Yes. Zhuo Fan smiled. Since you'll be the mediators, you'll receive a bigger reward for your efforts. The rest will only get 8th grade. But you better work fast, the spots are limited. What would I do with more elders and venerables than disciples? The 2 came to understand Zhuo Fan's true plan. He didn't just want to poach the inner sect's pillars, but its disciples as well and turn it into an empty husk. Such deadly tactics would leave the inner sect crushed and ruined. That being said, if some oldies and disciples jumped boat in favor of the labor office, then the inner sect would have no worth. By working in tandem, sect leader and Zhuo Fan will spell the end of the inner sect as we know it. Sitting here any longer would make us cannon fodder. Switching sides was a much more sensible choice since Zhuo Fan and their disciples were close. The sooner they joined the labor office, the more benefits they'll receive. The 2's eyes flashed and they nodded. We agree to join you and will even rope in others worthy of trust. Perfect. With the inner sect rotten, I have just the place for you to leave your mark. Welcome aboard. Zhuo Fan's trademark evil smile was back in business. Chapter 574, Dragon Soul Rumor. Chapter 574, Dragon Soul Rumor. Master, you're back. In the demon scheming sect cemetery, Gui Hu, Tai Ying, Kuei Gang and Yue were overlooking the 4 doors. While Elder Yuan took stock of the new laborious and sent them here, the once desolate and eerie cemetery had become a popular spot for eager laborious. Yue cried out seeing Zhuo Fan approaching. Kuei Gang grumbled, Master, where have you been for the past 3 days? We've been working hard here and you were goofing off. It's wandering off. You better remember that, brat. Zhuo Fan smiled and bopped his head. Kuei Gang pouted in annoyance. Isn't that the same thing? Just where could you wander off in the demon scheming sect? Gui Hu hesitated before muttering, Steward Zhuo, you said you'll let me stay by your side. Could you take me with you the next time you go? Ha ha ha, I know what you mean, but this time was different. Zhuo Fan grinned. Besides getting the 2 venerables, he used the past few days to pay a visit to other known disciples. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling pointed out poaching had become a walk in the park for him, knowing each side's reasoning fully well. And besides all that, getting the disciples had a far greater impact than some oldies he didn't take. Gui Hu, since he was Grand Elder's disciple. While the guy came to him to train for the Double Dragon gathering, he would rather play it safe when it came to pulling the carpet from under the other party. Gui Hu understood his reasoning and nodded. Elder Yuan spoke up, Steward Zhuo, for the past few days, the line of inner and outer disciples has been thinning. Of no importance. It's up to them if they want to come or not. We can't force them. Zhuo Fan waved his hand and turned to Gui Hu's group. What are you 4 standing around for? Get back to your stations. And you, Gui Hu, keep that heavy savage energy hidden. You need to show restraint. That's why I've placed you here to supervise, to train your heart and learn restraint. They all nodded and returned to their posts. Only Elder Yuan remained and smiled at Zhuo Fan. He knew Zhuo Fan only said it for the 4 kids' sake while he had a different intention. Sure enough, Zhuo Fan began with a sigh, young ones are too green in handling affairs. It's not that I don't trust them, but fear they will be rash and expose your plan. I know, ha ha ha. Elder Yuan laughed. Zhuo Fan said, Elder Yuan, I've been running around the inner sect these past few days and noticed that the old geezers are making a move to curb the disciples' new trend. They noticed our plan then. They have to get a grip on their disciples, and no amount of effort on our part will change that. The sect situation has always been up to the people's trend. Venerable Shi is too sharp to not notice it. Elder Yuan turned heavy. Zhuofan mocked, be that as it may, too bad the inner sect isn't so tough after all. The oldies are too much at odds with each other, even as they band together to weather the storm. All I need is to instigate them and a crack shall form, and with a few promises, they'll turn faster than flipping a book. Venerable Qi and Bai will do the splitting for me, while with Kuei Lang and Yu Ling's help I've got some strong inner disciples on board. The favor I gave them is showing its worth. I am amazed how Steward Zhuo's every step is calculated and controlled. Ha ha ha, Elder Yuan laughed. Zhuofan rolled his eyes. Please, I had to waste 2 10th grade pills for those venerables. And that's just the start. For the other oldies I will have to give an 8th grade pill each. I'll be ruined at this rate. Are you running low? How much do you have left? Elder Yuan jerked once. Zhuofan's pockets ran dry. The plan would be shot and flushed down the drain. Zhuofan squinted. Why do you care so much? You think I don't know that just after telling you that I can raise a sect, the next second Xie Wuer came telling me to do so? Think I'm stupid? Telling you about my wealth will make you do everything to make me spend it all. That means you have plenty to spare, ha ha ha. Great. Elder Yuan nodded and smiled like a weasel. Zhuofan's mouth twitched, though he didn't care that much. He could keep up with the expenses for a long time, but that didn't mean he wanted to. The faster he finished this plan, the faster he paid back Xie Wuer's favor and would be free. He never once cared about the demon scheming sect. It was all for the sake of being able to leave. If there was one place he'd rather spend his time at, it was that new little house. Elder Yuan noticed it as well and sighed. The kid has no connection to the sect, even with his 2 disciples here. Elder Yuan smiled. Steward Zhuo, you've gone to such lengths and spent so much for the sect, and having received nothing in return must have put you in a bad mood. Then let me tell you a secret rumor that might be of little help. What rumor? Is it Xie Wuer's gossip? Next time I'll smack that greedy little bugger and take out my resentment on him so that you never get another idea about my pockets. Ha ha ha. Elder Yuan's face twitched and he chuckled. Steward Zhuo, please don't joke. I'm being honest here. The rumor comes from the Western lands and only the higher-ups of the sects are privy to it. I only got to hear about it by playing lackey to an alchemist. It is about the secret of the dragon vein soul. Dragon vein soul? That caught Zhuofan's attention. You mean that 9 dragons diamond body? Elder Yuan smiled in disdain. That's just a waste of dragon soul's power. What do you mean? Zhuofan turned serious. Ethereal stage experts say, with the 9 dragon souls in one's body, anyone who can withstand their torture while under ethereal stage will achieve the 9 dragons diamond body and enter the ethereal stage on the spot. But this path is a waste, because his soul would become that of an earth dragon soul. No different than those other 9 dragon souls. So when meeting another ethereal stage expert, your body may be tough, but your soul will be weaker. The better way of using dragon souls is the 10 dragon soul convergence. Conjoining heaven and earth, activating the heaven vein and drawing the 9 heaven dragons' powers into yourself to form the heaven dragon soul. It is beyond anything the earth dragon soul can achieve. This soul's natural aura can quell another's soul and make battles far easier. Rumor has it that the earth dragon soul is a top soul, but lacks in both attack styles, and one could only skip 2 layers while the heaven dragon soul can skip 5. What? Zhuofan was astounded, having never heard of anything related to heaven dragon soul. Closing his eyes, Zhuofan recalled the 9 Serenities secret records and its contents, but nothing about it was mentioned. Not even the 9 Serenities emperor knew. Though there was one thing that drew his attention, pertaining to the true dragon soul. Sacred Domain's dragon race had the dragon tomb where its generations were buried and the dragon power ran strong. By using it to refine the soul, the strongest dragon soul would take shape, but that place was the dragon race's restricted area, under tight guard. Going there as anything but an ethereal stage was a death wish, while after reaching the ethereal stage, one lost a crucial chance to form their soul, so no one would think of going there to refine a true dragon soul. But from Elder Yuan's words, this heaven dragon soul sounds like a soul formed by refinement of the dragon tomb's dragon power. I can't steal it in the sacred domain, but I can in the mortal domain. Elder Yuan knew he was puzzled and continued, the 10 dragons open the heavens and provide one with the timing to enter the ethereal stage. Though lacking in the 9 dragons' diamond body's toughness, it matters not when soul is all that counts in the ethereal stage. In the western lands we are in, only Double Dragon sect's exalted Double Dragon managed to achieve the Heaven Dragon Soul. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.